It was like that.
Yep.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, so,
This is intense.
oh
We've
yeah.
got two camera angles
Mhm.
for the first time, and how many audios? 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna I'm gonna enjoy editing this.
Yeah.
How are you? Thank you for
I'm good.
doing this. Thank you for doing all of this.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for the invite.
How you been? Honestly, this is not what's it called? I don't have a set list of questions to ask you. It's a very chill, relaxed environment,
Yeah.
as anxious as all of this is making me. How are you? How you been? What are you doing in your summer?
um, Basically, for the second semester that we had, it was really intense because they gave us a lot of work to do. We were working on something called the short courses at AOU. So I think they want to somehow have these online courses for students who don't want to register. And so we were kind of pressured into doing like these micro credentials, or let's say mini short courses, online courses.
There's
For
still certifications, but
just yes,
yeah, okay.
yeah. I think they're looking. I think the university is looking around and they're seeing that other universities are doing something similar. So they wanted us to kind of do something as well, to provide, let's say, just people who don't want to register fully at AOU, but they want to take an extra course to improve their speaking, their writing, and so on. So they kind of gave us a lot of work to do in the second semester. So at the end, I just felt exhausted. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to teach in the summer. I'm just going to take a break, relax, just recover my mental health somehow, and just focus on myself and do a bit of, do a bit more reading, a bit more writing, and stuff like that, basically.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning how one of the things that has been like you've been meaning to make more time for is reading. Like, and this is min zaman. Like,
Exactly. That's so
this is
true.
like 3, 4 years ago.
That's true.
And how's that been? What are you reading?
Right now, I'm actually reading Mike Tyson's autobiography. Yeah, the guy's crazy. It's a lot of fun, but the book is like 600.
How's the grammar in that?
He has an editor.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he needs someone to help him. But it's interesting because the guy is so honest. Like he's brutally honest. Like
Oh
nothing.
yes.
Yeah, like he leaves like no stone unturned. Like he dives into the deep and dirty and dark and everything. He talks about his abuse of drugs, his life before he became famous.
Has pigeons?
Yeah, there's something wrong with, yeah. He loved, like, raising pigeons as a youngster. How he, like, how he suddenly became famous overnight. He was this ruthless, ferocious fighter, and it's interesting. Like when you look at someone like Mike Tyson, you just assume, oh, he's lucky. But he actually had to go through a lot. He came from a broken home, and yeah, I mean, he had to battle a lot of demons. And when you read his book, you honestly, like, you feel sorry for him.
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially like the thing with his daughter and
Uh,
how messed up he was after that, and
exactly.
how he got bankrupt twice, I
That's
think.
true. Yeah, yeah. He says something where, like, when you become suddenly like, he wasn't really good with managing his money, obviously, and a lot of
Mm,
people wanted to kind of take advantage of him and take advantage of his.
100%.
Yeah. So they would, like, file lawsuits. For example, he would make friends with somebody, and then they would pretend to have an accident with him, like a car accident, and then he would sue him for like millions. And a lot of the times, the people who would sue Mike Tyson, they would also win because he had this image that he was this, ruthless, ferocious animal. So,
And racism was also pretty
oh yeah, true, yeah.
pretty
So,
in trend
oh yeah, it was the
those
thing at the
times.
time.
Yeah, it was a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I never thought I'd like feel sorry for Mike Tyson, but honestly, like, reading through his autobiography, I'm like 60% into the book. I felt sorry for him. Like a lot of times, I'm like, man, this guy, like, I mean, before I read the book, I'm like, oh, I wish I was, like, as tough as him, and I wish I had his money and fame. But then after reading his book, I'm like, oh, thank God I'm not him. Thank God.
Yeah, that is the case with most people that are not successful per se, but that's a very blanket term, but experts at the highest level, let's say.
That's true.
Okay, or accomplished at the highest level in their own niche. They have been through the gutter.
Oh yeah. I mean, dragged through the gutter because he even says people wish to have my life, but they have no idea what I've been through. And he was just used by a lot of people. I mean, even like when it comes to like relationships, a lot of women were with him just simply for the money, right? He never had like a stable upbringing, a stable life, a stable relationship, a stable family, and it breaks my heart honestly. Like, because I have three kids myself, and I'm grateful, I'm lucky to have my family. But then seeing him with everything that's
It's okay.
we
We did not make it easy.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
So I mean, yeah, it's we sometimes look at these, rich and famous people, and we're like, oh, these guys are just, born into this kind of lifestyle. They're
I
lucky.
mean, some of them are.
Yeah, but
Some of them are. But um, the thing with envy is that people don't realize that everyone has a different scale with which they measure their good and bad.
exactly.
Because if the worst thing that's ever happened to you is a cut you got on your arm, that is the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
Mm,
And if I'm someone for whatever, I don't know what kind of life I'm leading, but I get cuts on my arms every day, like someone like pulls out knives on me every day, I won't be as affected as you are, let's say.
yeah, true.
Okay, that's a very weird example to give. But but you get what I
Yeah, yeah,
mean,
that's
right?
true.
If the worst thing that's ever happened to you is that your pet died, that is a catastrophe
Mm,
for you. But how can you expect me to care about your pet dying when, I don't know, my cousin died last week?
that's true.
Whatever.
I think that's why experiences are very important, because if you just like live in your own little bubble, you're not really experiencing life for what it is. I discovered this the hard way when I had to travel and study by myself, because coming from like a typical Arab household or family, my mom did everything for me. She cooked, she cleaned. My dad was there to help me when I needed money and so on. But then when I traveled to England and to do my masters, I was kind of like they threw me like into the sea, yalla swim.
Like,
So
become something and come back.
yeah, exactly. And I struggled honestly. Like, it was hard for me to manage my time. I wasn't even mature enough to understand the situation I was in. I was just, like wasting my time watching, playing video games and watching, things on YouTube and stuff. So, but then after some time, I'm like, no, I have to like man up. I have to be responsible. I have to study. I have like deadlines to meet, and it wasn't easy to be honest. I just wasn't mature enough to take on that role. But I mean, like looking back now, like in hindsight, I'm grateful for that experience because it really changed me. Like, it forced me to become someone I wasn't comfortable with becoming.
And that's so interesting because the only way really is through,
Hmm.
right? With these kind of things. When there's a turning point, whether it be in the late teens or early 20s, where for whatever reason, as much as you can change your life down the line, for whatever reason, within those years, you're basically making a decision: am I going to spend the rest of my life being useless,
Exactly.
or am I going to spend the rest of my life trying to be better?
Exactly.
And how much of that do you reckon has like luck to do with it? How much of it, rather?
I think it's understanding. I think you have to come to like a realization that um, like your parents can't be there for you the whole time. Like, you have to stand on your own 2 feet. Your parents might not be there for you all the time. And by the way, like, life in Kuwait is really easy, to be honest. I mean, when I went to
Oh
England,
yeah, it's everything's done for you.
exactly,
Every decision's made for you.
everything's
Everything's put in place for you. Like
yeah,
growing up, yeah.
life is easy. And when you go to Europe and you go to like the West and so on, you discover that I mean, there taxes. Number one, I've never heard of taxes until I went to England. Like, what are taxes? And then you realize that I mean, things are not done for you. You have to get things done, or else they'll be left for you to do later on. But I remember like a funny story. The first time I went shopping to like in Kuwait, you go to the Jamia, you go to the co-op, you fill in your, like you take the cart, somebody comes, he puts the items on the belt, and then someone else puts them in a bag for you, right? So the first time I went shopping in England, I got my grocery items, I put them on the belt, and then the lady was like waiting for me to kind of bag my groceries, and I was like waiting for her to have someone. and it was like this weird, awkward, game of staring at each other. She's like, as if telling me, "Aren't you, sir? Aren't you gonna go pack your groceries?" I'm like, "Aren't you gonna get me someone to pack them for me? Because that's where I come from, right?" And then I eventually tell her, like, "Hey, listen, do you have someone?" She's like, "Someone?" She's like, "No, sir, you have to pack your own groceries." I'm like, "What kind of third world country are we living in?" But then I like, this is life, like that's life. And then she's like, "Do you want any bags?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then she charged me an extra, she charged me money for the bags because they're trying to save the environment and plastic and so on.
And they're trying to make money, not
Yeah, I think that's trying
trying
to
to
say
save the
politely.
environment.
But I realized, life isn't that easy. Like you have to pick your own weight, and you have to fight your own struggles, and but that's how you grow.
Yeah, 100%. The reason I asked that question about luck is because I look back at it in my own life and living the life I've lived, like my mid to late teens, early 20s, the decisions I've made, a lot of times I was making the quote unquote correct decision, not because I had the wisdom, not because I knew wrong from right or right from wrong.
You're just lucky.
I got lucky.
Mm.
But when I look back at it, that's the best explanation I can think of. Because I found out months after or years after that, oh my God, if I had like gone down that road, it would have turned out to be disastrous.
Mm.
I'm glad I did this thing.
I see.
But at that moment, why did I make that decision? I have no idea. I was just a dumb kid, and without thinking about it,
Mm.
without considering the possibilities. I just went down the quote unquote correct road.
I see. I feel like the things that happen to us in life are not like a coincidence. I feel like when something happens to you, God wants you to see something or to realize something. Like the people you meet in life, the things that happen to you, there's always a lesson to be learned or something to discover, either about yourself or about the world. That's the way I see it. And when you have that kind of thinking, it kind of brings you peace because you don't go back and you don't like kind of regret the things that you did in life. Oh, why did I wish I can go back in time and change this or that? I just feel like at that specific moment, you take the best decision you can with the limited understanding you have of life, and then you move on. And whether that's good or bad for you, that's just the way it is. And
And then you readjust.
yeah, exactly, like it's like you fine tune your decision making skills. You know what works, what doesn't work. You know what to do for next time if this ever comes up again. So I think you have to like be like you have to be there like physically to make decisions yourself and I think making mistakes is really it's wonderful. Like if you can really learn from something, then you haven't it's not really a mistake anymore. You've gained experience.
Yeah, but then you can also go down the road of where you never recover.
Uh,
If it's the
true.
mistake is like, I don't know, s- something like
Yeah, that's yeah.
to keep the podcast PG.
uh, that's true. But then again, if you say that, you know what, I think at that time I wasn't wise enough to make let's say a mature decision, but I've grown today and I've learned from that. Then I don't see that as a blunder per se.
See, there's only one part in my life, or one point in my life rather, where I can point back to and say that, oh, at this point in my life, I gained wisdom.
Mm.
Okay, and that is during COVID, during the lockdowns.
Really?
Okay, and that basically is the only good thing that came out of those days, because everything else was just
Yeah.
going downhill. Um, the time I spent locked up, and it was locked up, basically, but it was essentially jail with a
Mm.
nice bed. Uh, I for the first time in my life, I was alone with my thoughts long enough
Mm.
to not just try to ignore them, but actually address them.
Nice.
It was like opening an inbox of 5 million emails,
Wow.
and I went through them,
Wow.
and that you can call that meditation. I guess that's a form of meditation, just going through your thoughts without actually humming anything or
Mm.
making poses. Doing that made me realize a couple of very you would say, profound things.
Mm.
One of which is how small I am as an entity, as a being, and how I'm essentially just the tiniest little cog in the grand machine that is the universe.
Mm.
But I am the reason the machine gets completed.
Nice.
Okay, I am one of the billions of reasons. So I'm part of everything. But then again, my role is the tiniest possible. And my role when it comes to my own life too is the tiniest possible. Because and I have so much anecdotal evidence of this, like thinking back to it, because thinking back to my previous life, let's say, because I'll put an effort in one direction, in some direction, and I'll put in maybe 5% of the effort that's required. Okay,
Mm.
and 95% will happen for whatever reason. It'll happen.
Okay.
Okay, it'll get presented to me. It'll get done for me. And everyone that I've talked to about this, that has like taken a couple of minutes to think about it, I'm like, okay, go back and think about all the difficult things you've done, all the major things you've done, all the biggest hurdles you've accomplished or gotten over, rather. Do you think you put in all the required effort? And the answer is always no. Like, no, we did like maybe 10%. Maybe we
Mm.
did maybe like 20%. But the only thing that you were good at that point was the direction.
Mm.
And
That's
the
true.
rest was luck, God's help,
In a way.
fate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, I like because I think you mentioned this in a previous episode of the podcast about meditation, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mentioned that I've been trying to do it
Yeah.
more. I haven't
Okay. But
been
you see,
doing
I
it.
mean,
Yeah,
it's interesting because you took COVID, which was depressing for I think almost everybody, right?
myself included.
Yeah. Honestly, and no, you found a way to turn it around. Because I remember, I think post COVID, when we came back, when we went back to university, and I was talking to the students, a lot of them actually suffered with like their mental, like their the demons that they had with depression. They discovered how insignificant they were, and some of them even came from toxic households and so on. But you were able to take that dark period of your life and somehow take advantage of it and meditate, if you want to call it meditate, or just at least sit and like confront your own inner thoughts. And that's not easy to do, man, because I mean everyone wants to meditate. I've been trying to meditate ever since I think COVID, and I've succeeded at times, but then there were times where I just felt like, you know what, I'm just not in the mood, or it's I don't know, I don't feel right meditating, right? But yeah, I mean, have you tried the have you ever like been inside like the isolation tank,
Oh
sensory
no,
deprivation?
no, I could not.
Oh.
The explanation and the someone elaborating it scares me. Honestly, I cannot. Yeah, no.
It's amazing, by the way. If you enjoy meditation, then you're gonna enjoy this.
Do they have those in Kuwait?
They had one. They had a company called Kalma in Kuwait, but they unfortunately closed down. They were in Symphony Mall, and actually, the one of the co-founders of the company was a former student of mine.
Beautiful.
And yeah, and I tried it. My wife got me like this coupon to go try it. I don't know why. She just wanted me locked up somewhere. Uh, honestly, and to be honest, it was
Like it's for your own good, honey.
yeah. She has yeah. And I was actually I had like a lot of questions like before I entered. I'm like, listen, am I gonna get stuck in this? He's like, no, no, don't worry. I'm like, any issues? Like, how? What? I mean, what does it feel
Wait,
like?
I'm sorry. Before you continue, can you please just quickly describe it, like what it
Yeah,
is?
sure. So an isolation tank is basically it's 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 like a container that fits one adult, and they fill it up with water and like a lot of salt, Epsom salt that makes you float inside the tank. And the whole purpose of that tank is to deprive you of all your senses. So you see nothing, you hear nothing, you taste nothing, you feel nothing. Um, and you sit there for like an hour, and it's almost like meditation, but it's like it's just you and your brain. It's like you and your thoughts in this dark little tank. It's almost like being buried alive. Honestly, it's so intimidating, but at the same time, it's so relaxing. I don't know how to, I can't explain it properly, but it's something you have to experience. If you ever get the chance, I said, and like whoever's like listening, I highly recommend you check it out, because I was skeptical in the beginning. I was afraid, like, like what's it like? So you go inside this tank, and then you close the lid. You see nothing, you hear nothing. You're floating in water with like a lot of salt, and then it's just like you and your mind. And the first time you do it, it's hard for you to kind of get in the zone, to think of nothing. But then the more you do it, the more calming it becomes.
What are you thinking of when you first get in? You're like, oh, it smells weird.
Nothing, like there aren't any distinct
Like,
smells.
oh, okay.
There isn't anything to kind of stimulate your senses. And because we live in a day and age of technology and laptops,
Overstimulation,
yeah,
yeah.
overstimulation. You just get
To
your
the nth
phone.
degree, yeah.
Exactly. So like for the first 5 minutes, you're like, how long has it been? Like, am I gonna,
Oh, yeah. Wait, do you know the time?
nothing, nothing,
You don't know the
nothing. There's no what you
time.
have no
There's no communication with outside at all.
nothing. There's just like a small noise that it's like I think they're called binary beats or something. I don't know the exact term, but they're like
Like brown noise?
yeah, something like noise or some sort of frequency like they kind of emit in the tank to tell you that the session has started, and then they play the same sound. It's like a very faint sound at the very end of the session to tell you that your time is done.
Oh, it's not ongoing, the sound.
Yeah, no, it's ongoing.
Oh, okay.
It's only in the beginning just to kind of put you in that kind of calm state, and then they turn on the sound again towards the end, telling you that your session is done. So you have no idea what time it is. You have no idea.
And does it open from the outside or?
You can you're sitting inside the tank, and you can actually open it up yourself manually.
Oh,
So
I
yeah.
would open it in like 5 minutes or three.
Yeah. But honestly, Asad, from my experience and from the experience I've heard of other people who've done this, Joe Rogan talks a lot about this, by the way, as well. It's you get to a stage where you're okay, like you confront your demons. You're like, it's okay. Like you feel like I don't know, you're floating in nothingness, nothing to stimulate your mind, nothing to think about. And then after some time, you just get into the zone, like you become one with the tank. Like it's hard to explain.
It's kind of the same, but I see this sounds extremely woo-woo for for anyone who has never experienced this.
100%.
Okay, there's a few different ways to do this. You could meditate, you could get in the tank, you could do drugs.
Yeah.
But whoever has felt that knows exactly what we're
Yeah.
talking about, because that it comes back to the same thing of knowing that you're a part of everything,
Mm,
and everything is complete because of you, but at the same time
you're
knowing
nothing.
how tiny you
Exactly.
are
Exactly. Yeah.
and how insignificant you are.
So true.
Because yeah, the real you have to Aslan, I'm sure you have to keep reminding yourself that you're inside a tank
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, versus being like out on the sea in the middle of nowhere with no stars.
Exactly.
Like you can't really comprehend the difference. And are you freaking out like the first few
Oh yeah.
minutes?
Oh yeah. I'm freaking out, and I'm like, God, I wanted to leave. I'm like, and then I get out. It's been like only 5 or 10 minutes. I'm like, what? Only 10 minutes?
Oh, you did that?
Yeah, and then I went back in because I just couldn't take. I just couldn't take it anymore.
How long did the 10 minutes feel?
Felt like hours, man. Because in today's world, like obviously, you have your phone. Let's say you're bored.
Time passes like that.
Yeah, man. You have a TV, you have Netflix, you have your phone, you have social media. You just anytime you're bored, you just pick up your phone, right? Call somebody, you message, you go on social media. But then imagine like nothing, nothing to stimulate your senses.
See, the thing is, we're essentially already living in a world, everyone is. But, I mean, maybe there's like less than 1% of an exception. I don't
Mm,
know of anyone. Tell me if you do. At any given moment, there's not a single second that any of us spend where we're not doing something.
yeah,
There's not a single second of the day where we are not catching our breath while sitting down or reaching for something or checking our phone, like you said, mindlessly scrolling, calling someone,
yeah,
talking to someone. There is no such thing as sitting down and doing nothing.
yeah.
There's no such thing as laying in bed and not just actively trying to sleep.
Exactly. Yeah. That's true.
Uh, there's a entrepreneur slash wisdom sharing guy, Nawal Rabnikant. Do you know him?
No,
He quotes someone else, I believe, when he says this. Uh, I don't remember the name of that person, but he says that all of man's problem stem from his inability to sit in a room alone for an hour
Wow.
and do nothing.
Wow, that's crazy. That's true.
Because if I decide to do that right now, like here, you know what I'll do? Like after 3 seconds, I'll look at the clock. Even though it's the most boring sort
Yeah,
of stimulus, but it's still doing something.
that's true.
Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, we have completely what's it called? Surrendered ourselves to
yeah,
the brain rot
exactly.
that is overstimulation.
Disconnected ourselves from, like, let's say, our true selves. You know the feeling you said about feeling nothing? I remember I felt I had that same feeling when there was a famous photo taken by, I think, some astronauts. I forgot the guy's name, but the picture became famous. It's called the pale blue dot. Have you heard of it?
Yeah. I think that's one of the first pictures of Earth from from the space
Yeah,
station, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Or the first picture.
yeah. So it's basically a picture from space, and there's like a pale blue dot, like just in the background, and that's Earth.
That's
And
Earth.
like the captions, like this is, everything inside that small dot is your problems, your worries, your anxiety, your stress, all the issues you had, whatever. And it's like you take a step back and you're like, wow, that's where we are. Like on this little, like in the grand scheme of things, we are insignificant, as you said. But at the same time, we are part of the machine, as you mentioned as well. So it's interesting. We have this kind of, it's like a paradox somehow. Like you're nothing and something as well.
You're essential but not significant.
Um,
Tell me if the words mean what I'm trying to get them to mean.
uh, can you be significant without being essential?
Yeah, I
Hmm.
can be a significant nuisance at a party and and not be essential to it at
Yeah.
all.
I think it goes both ways. You can be
Mm,
essential and not significant, but you can also be significant and not essential.
mm.
Um, I think I'm like reminded of the story of I don't know if it's true, but there were like these starfish that were like washed ashore on the beach, and then this young boy, obviously this, the starfish they need to be in the sea to survive. So this young boy walks around, he sees the shore filled with like these starfish, and he grabs one, he throws it inside, he grabs another one, he throws it inside, before they die. And then this old man sees him, he's like, man, what are you doing? The kid's like, I'm trying to say, I'm trying to save their life. He's like, yeah, you can't. It's impossible to save all their lives. You're not gonna make a difference. But then the
Mm.
boy's like, but I can make a difference to this one.
Hmm.
And then he grabs one and he throws it back. So in a way, like, yeah, maybe you don't have the power to change, to make these mega changes in life, but you do have the power to influence, let's say, the people around you, your family members, and so on. So just as that boy cannot save all the starfish.
Yeah, see, I sort of disagree. Not sort
Okay.
of, I pretty strongly disagree.
Oh, tell me why.
Because,
Yeah.
because I feel like you do have the power to make that significant change. It just takes longer than the human time frame.
Hmm. Okay.
Because, like most things in life, whatever positive you try to do in collaboration with other people has a compound effect,
That's true.
and it gets away from you and it gets bigger than you.
That's true. Like boycotting, for example.
Like boycotting.
Yeah.
If you convince one other person, okay, and they end up not right now, 5 years later convincing another person, and that other person ends up like convincing two people in their five
Mm,
years.
like long-term effects. I
Exactly.
see. Yeah, that's
As
true.
long as the first one is quote unquote a true believer
Okay,
or really sold on your idea of positivity or kindness or whatever it is you're trying to sell them,
that's nice. Yeah, that makes sense.
which is something you've done with your students
I
over the
hope so.
years.
I hope so.
No, you have. I'm sure you have. I know you like to be humble, but
Yeah.
that's something I've really seen, and I don't see it often.
Mm,
There are as much as I what's it called, like to banter with you or have all these jokes, I genuinely really appreciate what you're doing, and I genuinely believe you're making the world a better place.
I really hope so.
Because I've only ever met two educators like this. One of them is you, and another one I had back in Pakistan,
Okay.
where they would talk to a student as a person and not like
Mm,
a roll number,
yeah, no,
let's
true.
say. There are other tutors and educators, of course, that do that. But at the end of the day, whenever that interaction's over, they're not trying to put in extra effort. They're not trying to make it their own problem.
Exactly, exactly.
But you seem to be doing that. And I know it's not easy, and I know it's not something that's always instantly rewarding.
That's true.
And a lot of times it seems like you're, uh, how do I put it? It seems like you might be able to use this energy or this time in a better way.
That's true.
So how do you deal with that? What is the basis of what you do? I'm having a difficult time
Yeah.
describing even what it is you do.
Yeah.
That's special. Like, how did you get to this? What did it start out
Yeah.
as?
But actually, it started like a long time ago when I was back in school. I had a horrible like a schooling experience. To be honest, I just I didn't know how to say no. Basically, when I was back in school, I was bullied a lot for I guess just being different. And some of my teachers were actually my biggest bullies as well. I had my chemistry teacher. His name was. If you're watching this, Mr. Price, I forgive you.
Yo, we're name dropping.
Yeah.
We're name
Yeah.
dropping now. That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, that's the least I can do. So I had a
Mr.
teacher, yeah,
Price.
Mr. Price. He was my chemistry teacher in grade 9, grade 10. And he, like, there was this thing where if any, let's say someone made a noise or something broke, like we were like in the lab, and let's say someone drops a test tube and it breaks, the students had this habit of just saying Farran, like it was as if blaming me for whatever disaster happened, right? And he got on that train, like he actually jumped on that bandwagon. He's like, so whenever something bad happened, Farran, I'm like, dude, you're a teacher. You're supposed to be protecting me from my bullies. So it was shocking to be honest. It was horrible. I mean, when I graduated, I was just so happy. I'm so glad I mean, that part of my life is over. I
Mm.
had no friends. Just hated the whole, teaching, the whole like experience of being a student there. And I promised myself if I ever became a teacher, I would not be like those. I would be someone else. I would be something else.
Did you become a teacher to get revenge on the world, or or was that a different path?
I think it was like a different path, but I was always like a people person. Like I loved interacting with people. I loved speaking. I loved sharing my thoughts and stories with people. And yeah, so and I felt like there was a need to have good teachers because I didn't really have I had maybe like one good teacher in school. The rest were all like either toxic or
What's a good teacher?
someone who someone who humanizes you, someone who sees you as a human, someone who truly cares about you, someone who internalizes your worries and takes it upon himself or herself to be there for you when you have no one else around you. So, like someone who truly cares, and that's the kind of person I wanted to be when I became a teacher. Like I wanted to be that kind of the teacher, like the superhero teacher. I wanted to be there for you, even if you had issues outside my class. I wanted to be there for you. I wanted to listen to your worries and issues and be part of your be part of the solution because I just felt like we didn't have those teachers anymore. Those they were kind of non-existent. Like think of when did you last have a teacher who actually listened to you, like actually told you to come to his or her office and said sit down, let's have a heart-to-heart conversation.
Uh, 11th grade.
Yeah. There you go. So there you go, right?
11th grade, and he didn't even teach me anymore.
Well, there you go.
But if we're talking about teachers that never taught me, it's you. Like
Oh,
that's the most recent
thank
one.
you,
Yes.
thank you. But I just wish when I was like back in school, I just wish I had someone who understood my issues and my worries, and I was like dying from inside. I was like screaming for help. I just wanted someone just to kind of acknowledge my issues that I had, and like someone just to like reach out their hand and say, "Hey, Mohammed, I've got you. Just hold my hand. I'll guide you."
And and this is not, of course, to downplay anything you've done, but it's amazing how little it takes, right?
Yeah,
and how little is required in most
exactly.
of these cases, that
100%.
the person's like crying from the inside and
100%.
screaming for help, so to speak.
You don't
So I
even.
think you just
Oh, sorry. You don't like.
destroyed the years of
Everything.
no, I think because it's attached to your
Yeah,
what's it called,
necklace.
necklace
Yeah,
instead of the shirt.
I have no idea where it is. It's okay.
Do you want help? Oh,
Yeah, if you don't mind.
oh, how did you?
I have no idea.
That
Okay, we're
it's
sharing.
like a keyring on
Yeah.
your.
So yeah, I mean, what you said is true, Asad. I mean, all it takes is just to show the other side genuine concern. It could be as simple as saying, come to my office. Let's talk about it. And I've had several conversations with students like this in the past. Hey, are you okay? I have some issues, Mr. Farran. Come to my office. Let's talk. That's all it takes. Some don't come, which is fine with me because obviously I can't force you. But the people who do come to my office and I sit with them and I have a heart conversation, it's life changing. Not because I said something that was life changing, but simply because I showed the other person you're not just a number, you're not just a client, you're not just a someone just paying money. You
Mhm.
are a human being, and I'm a human being, and we can connect.
And
And
I've been where you are.
exactly, exactly, I've been there 100 times. So, and once students realize that, like once they sense that you genuinely care, they start putting in the effort.
100%.
You
Of
know,
course they do. That's what I'm saying. That it takes very little. It just takes this acknowledgement of saying that, hey, you're not crazy. Okay,
mm.
whatever's going on with you is how life goes.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay, this is what I've been through. This is what your parents went through.
that's
This is what
true.
everyone goes through. They're just too
True.
embarrassed to talk about it,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
and they want to pretend like they were born like
that's
this.
so true. Yeah, that's so true. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, once you empathize with the students, and once you show them that you genuinely care, and you're there for them, I mean, they do the rest by themselves. I still remember the first year I taught. This was obviously before AOU. I was teaching in a school, and it was like maybe one of no, it wasn't the worst school. It was yeah, it was
Don't name
no
it.
no
You don't
no
name it
names,
then.
no more names. But this was like my second year teaching in school, and I remember I had this really troublesome student. Oh, this guy gave me a huge headache. I almost quit my job because of this guy.
Because of a student.
Yeah, I tried everything in the
Crazy.
book. I tried everything. I was able to control the whole class except this one kid, and
Mm.
he was like a short, like he was like a like no offense to like vertically challenged people, but he was no
Vertically
no
challenged
no,
people.
no I just had to politically
That's
correct.
that's a fun way to say the
Yeah,
M word.
yeah, yeah.
Vertically
Everyone thought
challenged
of that.
people. Okay,
But he was
I'm
like,
gonna. I'm sorry. I'm gonna call my fat friends horizontally challenged from now
yeah,
on.
why not? Um, but he was just like he wasn't intimidating in any way. Like he just looked like a teddy bear, and he wasn't very tall either.
What was he doing? Just causing like tantrums and
Yeah,
just throwing stuff.
he just he was out of control. He just wouldn't listen to anything I would say. He was in control of the class, not me. I was able to control everybody but him. He was like a gang leader, and I tried everything, everything. I tried punishments. I called the principal. I gave him detention. You name it, man. And he just came back worse.
Did you try a little bit of?
No, no, no. I'm
No.
not allowed to do that. He did that to me, man. I tried everything in the book, nothing worked. And then I picked up a book in the library that said dealing with difficult students, how to deal with difficult students. I'm like, this is my last resort. And then the book mentioned something that I just didn't try it. And then the book was like, maybe the book mentioned something about maybe this kid is going through issues. Maybe this kid has issues at home. Instead of punishing him, why not try to be on his side? Why not try to kind of understand this kid? And so I did the 180. I just took this opposite approach. And I'm like, listen, can you stay behind after class? I need to talk to you. He's like, you're gonna punish me? I'm like, no, I just don't want to punish you. So we sit back, we talk, and I try to show him that listen, I'm not your enemy. I'm your friend. I wanna help you. I know that maybe you have issues at home, whatever's happening to you. I want to be your friend. I want to help you out. Anyway, just to make a long story short, towards the end of the semester, this kid changed. He changed 180, and he became my biggest supporter. Like he would actually shush people in the classroom. If others spoke, he's like, "Shh, Mr. Farran, he's talking. Don't talk." He went from being my bully to being my biggest supporter. And until this day, I still know him. Like we're still in touch. And he changed my life, and I changed his life. And the thing is, I had a rule at the time. I would never give my phone number to students. I was like my rule, and I never did.
Oh yeah,
But I broke my rule.
good rule to have.
It's a good rule to have, but I broke my rule for this kid because I discovered that he had a lot of issues at home, and he came from a broken home, and he was venting his anger in my class. Like he was acting up in my class because he felt powerless at home.
That
So
is the case with most bullies, though.
exactly, and I came to understand this the hard way. So sometimes when someone is, let's say, acting up in school, or let's say someone is not performing well in class, it's not because there's something wrong with you. Maybe these people are going through things, and you need someone who has empathy to get down to their level or to understand them. And then once you do that, they will feel this connection with you, and then they will start to maybe perform and do better in class.
Yeah, one of the best ways to get teenagers to start uh, acting civil, let's say, is to treat them like adults.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like tell them that, hey, whatever you're saying, whatever you're doing, it actually matters.
That's true.
So watch it. Like get your stuff together.
Yeah.
You know, grow up, so
That's
to
true.
speak. As in, this is the time you need to be responsible.
True. Yeah, man. 100%. What was your schooling like?
Oh, my schooling up until say sixth grade, which was in Kuwait,
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty mentally clocked out. Every now and then I'd get shouted at by a teacher or whatever, but there was no real bullying to speak of.
Okay.
Uh, except that one time for photo day in second grade, I think. I forgot her name, otherwise I would totally mention it. Uh, we were in line,
Yeah.
okay, and about to get our pictures taken, and she called me like a donkey.
Oh,
The one of the teachers.
teachers.
Yeah.
I thought talking about a student.
Oh no, no, no. The students were great. There was no bullying from students
Wow.
until sixth grade at least. So yeah, I'm still salty about that. I don't
Wow.
know because teachers like these should be nowhere around kids.
100%. Yeah.
Without exaggeration, I genuinely believe they should not be allowed to have kids of their own
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
The kids are not safe around such people. Some teachers are properly psychotic,
They are.
and they stay in the teaching business for years and decades.
Wow.
And all they
Sure.
do when they go to the school is they'll do the bare minimum syllabus wise, and the rest they'll treat all the kids like subhuman.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that is a terrifying thought
It is
because they're a dime a dozen. There's so many
a lot.
of these where I don't know, maybe the management's bad and they're taking that out on the kids, or things are bad at home and they're taking that out on the kids, whatever the case is. But that's extremely and concerningly common.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's true. I think if
Yeah.
you ask most students, everyone has like a horror story with the teacher.
Oh,
Yeah, who
100%.
doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And that says something about our education system. It says something about the teachers that we're hiring or the people that we're letting.
I'm sure if I had stayed in the same school in Kuwait until later on, I would have had some horror stories too, because all my friends do.
Really?
Because I'm friends with the same people that I was in class with
I
until
see.
sixth grade. I'm still friends with a lot of them,
Okay.
and all of them have horrific stuff to tell me about these different teachers that properly and genuinely belong in mental
Oh
institutions.
my God.
Where I'll tell you a couple of stories later on, but right now I just want to continue my schooling. Um, then from seventh grade, I moved to Pakistan.
Okay.
Very nice, posh private school
Hmm.
because we were sending KDs. My dad was sending KDs from here, so we could afford it
I see.
easy. Uh, that school, it was kind of the opposite. They were bullies,
Hmm.
but the teachers were amazing for the most part.
I see. Okay.
Okay, absolutely lovely. And the management was amazing, and the school itself was amazing in terms of the activities and the extracurricular stuff, the sports, the speech. Uh, that's where I learned how to speak English.
Really?
I could not speak English more than a sentence and a half until I think ninth grade.
Really?
Eighth grade, end of eighth grade or ninth grade.
That's
That's
interesting.
when I joined MUNs.
Ah, okay. Model
I
United Nations, right?
Yeah,
MUN, okay.
which is essentially a copy of the United Nations assemblies, and you're each assigned a country as a participant. I'm
Hmm.
just explaining it for the listeners.
Yeah.
Um, and you debate different topics, whatever are the current issues, ongoing things.
Like real life issues.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you're assigned Zimbabwe, for example, whatever your position is in an international issue. If you're not directly involved in it as a country, you'll just show your support for whoever is.
Interesting.
That's how it used to be. And I remember the first time entering a session, it was a training session for
Mm.
MENs, and my legs were actually trembling. I didn't know what that feeling was before that. I thought people just said that as a, what's it called? As a figure of speech.
Yeah.
But no, my knees were like like
Literally.
hitting each other. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. But alhamdulillah, I'm glad I went in, because that's also a funny story because one of my bullies, I had agreed with him that, yo, whenever the session starts, please, like when you go there, take me with you. Because it was on the girls' side
Okay.
and we're on the boys' side. And he obviously went without telling me. Okay, for whatever reason, he knew the timings better than me. I don't know what that was. I
Okay.
don't remember. So I find out that they're started, and I go there and I open the door, and the trainer, amazing dude. I forget his name. It's Muzammil something, but amazing, amazing dude. Really good at training. The first thing he says to me, he's like, "You're late. Get out. Like I won't take you in anymore. If you can't be punctual, you can't be in my sessions." And I close the door and I get shattered. Like the confidence that it took me to open that
Oh my
door,
god.
I'm like, okay, what do I do now? What do I do now? And I'm like hyperventilating.
Oh
Okay,
my
this is how much
god.
confidence I used to have, by the way.
Ah, you've changed.
I have.
Wow. Okay. Can't imagine you have.
I somehow gather up the courage and open up the door again. And I'm like, hey, if you, for whatever reason, I came up with this one sentence. I'm like, if you don't let me in, it's gonna be a bad choice for you because I'll improve your team and I'll like do whatever. I said a couple of sentences that I did not believe in
Oh
whatsoever.
my god, that's crazy. Like,
Some crazy dramatic Hollywood stuff,
fake it till you make it, huh?
basically. And he's like, and he stopped speaking to the class and he just looks at me for a bit. He's like,
Wow.
and I
It
said,
worked.
and that's how I learned to speak English basically
Wow.
in those
Wow.
sessions.
I admire your BSing it, your way through. That's
See,
amazing.
this is one of those things where I did not have the wisdom to do that.
But it just happened.
It just, I don't know why.
Luck.
I don't know why it happened. Now, looking back at it, if I see a kid standing outside a class in that situation, of course, I'll tell that kid, hey, the right thing to do here is to BS your way into that class. The right thing to do here is not to go back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I
But
mean,
how did I know? No one,
I
you
think,
know?
yeah, I feel like you didn't really know at the time, but you felt like you deserved a second chance, or like you felt like you weren't,
Cheated.
yeah, cheated somehow, or
Yeah, I think I was just trying to do that. I felt like I was cheated because of
wasn't fair. Yeah,
that dude who didn't tell me.
I like that. Like you followed your gut feeling. You're like, I deserve a second chance, and then you went in again. You're like, and the guy's like, Alex, well, come in. So that was nice, interesting
And quite literally life changing.
because of that.
Yeah, because see, if I don't go into that classroom that day in a different timeline, I never get good at English.
Yeah,
And some of the deepest, most meaningful friendships I've made have been
because
in
of
the English language. I'm married
wow, this
to a
is crazy.
person I don't share any language with
Oh, that's insane.
except English.
Yeah, it's insane, man. It's like the butterfly effect. Like if you can go back in time, and younger Asad was just standing outside that door, and you're like, you know what, the guy's right. I just need to. And like you stood somewhere outside, or you just went back home or something. You probably wouldn't have the same life you'd have today, right?
100%.
It's crazy when you think about it. It's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
and everything I've done since, where career-wise, where English was required,
Mm,
because I could understand it and I could read it and write it, but I could not speak it for the life of me.
wow. See,
It was mostly a confidence thing, not
yeah,
not a understanding or a grammar thing.
I think this goes back to what we were talking about how you have to like live through the experience. Like you have to go through these hardships. You know, you have to live through them because once you go through them, then you grow as a person. You obviously you learned to not be silent at times, to maybe ask for what is rightfully yours, even when the teacher told you to leave. You're like, you close the door. You're like, you know what? Maybe I should give this another shot, and you did it again, right? One of my favorite quotes is, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." It's beautiful, right? Like you think about it, and I use this in my class all the time because I teach speaking and presentation, and obviously a lot of people have like nervous breakdowns.
My God.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
Judy knows. But like people literally freeze in my class. They stand up, they look at the crowd, and they're like, just silence. And the thing is, when you're quiet, you just make it awkward for everybody, and it becomes worse. Like you're digging your own grave. And I tell the students, I know it's comfortable for you, sitting in your chairs. I know it's comfortable. You guys like listening to me speak the whole time, but you won't learn anything if I do all the talking. You have to put yourselves here. You have to feel uncomfortable, and once you feel uncomfortable, with time, trust me, you guys will get there eventually. I was like that too. I wasn't really a super confident speaker. I remember the first time I was teaching. Oh my god, I was sweating and my face was red, and I was very self conscious of the way I looked.
All of those things you read about and you hear other people say, and they don't seem real.
Yeah, they
They
don't.
seem exaggerated.
That's so
But
true. Yeah. But I try to show my students, guys, listen, I was like you. Trust me, I was a nervous wreck. I remember I had a presentation when I was in college, and our class was huge. I was in Kuwait University, right? We had over 100 students in the class. The classroom was so big, it was like an auditorium, like when you go to the cinema.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like the one you see in movies where
yeah,
where they have
exactly. It's
yeah.
huge. And I had to give a presentation on stage, and most of the students were females, and I wasn't very good with speaking to the other gender and so on. And I had to give a presentation in front of like 100 girls. And I went to my teacher. I'm like, listen, I can't do this. He was like, why? I'm like, I just can't stand and speak in front of ladies. I'm not that confident. He's like, you have to do it, or you're gonna get a zero. I never went to the presentation. I couldn't do it, man.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
but I couldn't stay like that. Like you have to, like when I eventually became a teacher, I was forced into this position. But then I understood that it's not the end of the world, right? You have a job to do. You will get confidence with experience. It's uncomfortable in the beginning, but then you learn to manage. You learn to understand. You learn to not really care what others think. Like you get to that stage where I have a job to do. I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability, and if I have to care about what others think about me the whole time, then I won't do a good job. So you reach that stage where you don't really care. You care about the human, but not about the thoughts they have about you.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yes, it does. Because you're not trying to convince everyone of something. You're not trying to get them all on board
Exactly.
onto something. It's not a cult.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
just you sharing your thoughts, you talking about something, and if they pay attention, it's good for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're providing them a value,
Exactly.
and if they want to take it or not, it's up to them.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's also our job as teachers to get their attention, to try our best to find different ways to get their attention. It's not like, "Khalas, I'm going to explain. If you don't get it, then bye bye." I,
Oh no, I
yeah.
meant public speaking in general. Of
Yeah.
course, as a
Yeah.
teacher, yeah, I would hope
Yeah.
so.
Because some teachers are like, I'm gonna walk into class, talk for 2 hours. If you get it, you get it. You don't get it, it's you have to repeat the course. Um,
Oh my God, I've had teachers where they would come in and quite literally, okay, I may be exaggerating this like 2%, not more. Okay,
okay.
this is the presentation ongoing. Okay, hi kids, hi, hello, whatever, how are you? This is the first slide for today. We're going to be talking about the heading of the slide. This is the first line of the slide. This is the second line of the slide. This is the third line of the slide. This is the first line of the second slide.
Wow, that's
I
insane.
swear to
That's
God.
insane, man. That's
They
insane.
would finish the slideshow, leave.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Or tell us that, hey, oh, by the way, you have to do this homework. Oh, and you can download the slideshow, by the way, from the LMS.
that's
So
crazy.
go
That's
ahead and
crazy.
do
Yeah.
that. And you know what I would do in these classes? I would always go, my rule of thumb was by second or third semester, because I was working full time pretty much, or I was working 4 to 5 odd jobs,
Mm,
between 4 to 6, let's say,
wow,
throughout university.
that's
Okay,
crazy.
so it was essentially more than a full time job. Um, I would go in to the first class always on time, 5-10 minutes early. On the first course,
Okay.
as in the first day of the course,
Okay.
I would always show up 5 to 10 minutes in advance, talk to the teacher. If the teacher was this kind, I would go stop the teacher after the class, be like, "Hey, listen, do you mind if I take the class with this other teacher?" Because I would check the schedules and whatnot, and like, yeah, because my job, like, it really suits me and whatnot, and this is really difficult for me. I have to spend on taxi, and 9 out of 10 times, actually, I think everyone did. They would agree, right? And we, okay, cool. And then that other teacher would never see my face either, because I'd be like, I'm better off reading a book
It's a waste of
and
money.
watching a YouTube video
Yeah, unfortunately.
than coming to this class. So
That's
I'm good.
crazy. That's crazy.
And the only course I ever failed in uni was the exam I forgot about.
Really?
Yeah, during COVID, I was doing online. I was doing a semester online, and I forgot about an exam.
Wow. So it wasn't really a fail. It was more like a,
It was more of like an oopsie.
yeah, exactly. Because fail means you actually did
Like an
something and you,
oopsie that cost me, I think, like 250 KD or something.
oh God, that was the biggest, yeah, that was the most expensive oopsie you've ever had. But I mean, yeah, because when you say fail, you did something and it didn't work out, but you didn't even show up to that. So that's not really a fail in a way. But you know,
Yeah.
I feel like teachers like that are criminals. Honestly, I feel like a teacher who doesn't really teach from their heart, or a teacher who isn't passionate about what they're teaching, I feel like they should be charged with something, like in like some sort of like intellectual crime.
See, but yeah, I mean, the first class, yes, the first class you should be passionate, no matter what. You don't have an excuse to not be passionate in the first class.
I feel like you have to be passionate every single platform. Every single, like I'm talking about the teachers, like,
Yeah, from the teacher's perspective,
yeah.
okay? Because that's what I was judging them by, the first class,
Mm.
anyway. So that makes sense. But down the line, eventually, it makes sense to me that the students show no emotion whatsoever and they're mentally completely clocked out. So then it makes sense that the teachers just like, hey, if they're curious, they'll ask.
You see, I think it's like
It's
a two-way street.
Yeah,
You know
of
what I mean?
course.
Yeah, like I feed off your energy, you feed off my energy, and so
That's
on.
why I'm saying the first class, it's the teacher's
Mm.
responsibility, and then that sets the pace for the semester.
Somehow, yeah. I
But
always,
then again, there's also subjects that are extremely boring, but you have to get through. Okay, think of the most basic subject you've ever studied, okay?
okay,
In university, one of the foundation courses.
okay,
Let's say, I don't know, it was reading,
okay.
or with English, or it was the basics of computer science. Imagine teaching that 50 times, because nothing changes in the foundations.
You're right.
Barely anything changes in the 8 credit hour courses.
You see, the thing
This
is,
is something I was wondering.
mm,
Do you have this issue of getting
uh,
bored with the same thing?
sometimes, yeah. But what I do is I challenge myself to teach the material in like in a more interesting way, or like a let's say different way, because I think yes, sometimes there are courses that are more challenging to teach than others, but I think it's up to the teacher to be creative to kind of get the idea across or to make it fun for the students, right? I taught EL 118, which is a reading course, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's super boring because obviously the textbook is full of, you know, it's very, English is very academic. It's not like everyday English. and the text starts. They're just so random. Like there's one. The first unit was about animals. The second one was about banking or something like that. So it was bizarre, right? So I remember we had one unit about senses, right? About the senses. Now everyone knows, five senses, whatever, and so on. And it was kind of boring. So I thought of a way to make it interesting for the students, right? So what I did was, I got a box. I think you've seen these on maybe on like on social media. And what I did was I got a student volunteer, and they had to put their hands inside the box, and I would give them like a something to touch, something sensory, obviously, and they had to guess what the thing was, right? So, and it was like and I usually ask the girls, usually girls, I asked them, do you have any fears? If someone said, "Sir, I'm scared of cockroaches," then I would get a fake cockroach, obviously just to kind of make it more interesting, something like that, right? But it was really interesting because so they had to use their sense of touch to identify the object, right? And I remember one of the funniest classes I had was I had a pacifier. Uh, in Arabic, they call it lahaya, to
Mm.
for babies. And I put the pacifier inside the box, and this girl, she had her English was limited, and she touched the thing, and she's like, I know what it is, Mr. Farran. I'm like, okay, what is this? She's like, I don't know the name in English. I'm like, no, you have to tell me. She's like, sir, I know what it is, but I just don't know the word. I'm like, okay, describe it. She's like, it's the thing they used to shut up the baby.
Shut up the
Yeah.
baby.
I'm
That's
like,
accurate.
yeah, I'm
I
like,
mean,
yeah.
that's not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I'm like, yeah, that's good. I agree. It's to shut up. I have a kid. We use it to shut up the babies all the time. But well, the thing I want to reach, I want to get to is that I was, at least like in my head, I was able to turn, let's say, a boring session into one that was, let's say, more hands-on approach, more interactive, more engaging with the students, right? If I stand and speak for 2 hours, they're going to fall asleep after 10 minutes. So I think as teachers, it's our job to find a creative way or like an interesting way to teach the material. You have to sit and think of a way to approach the students, right?
And a lot of that is to involve them.
Exactly. Get them
And of
involved.
course, there's more opportunity in that the more complex of a thing you're teaching.
Yeah.
But again, when it's the very bare basics, there isn't much you can do. You can't really reinvent the wheel there.
That's true. But let's say I'm teaching a class about essay writing. I have to write. I mean, no one likes writing essays, so I can't change that. But what I can do is I can give them interesting topics. So, for example, I'm like, guys, imagine that Mr. Farran becomes the president of AOU, right? Would you support just something fun, something interesting? If you become the leader of your own country, what rules would you establish? Um, I try to find out what they like what are you guys into, and then based on that, I try to give them something which is interesting, like because maybe let's say you don't like to talk about the solar system, for example, but if I give you something about robotics or AI, you might enjoy it. So I feel like we tend to, if I can engage your curiosity, if I can find out what you love, then maybe I can get you to speak and write.
Yeah, a lot of times in education, we're forced to do things that we would never do in real life.
Yeah, exactly. You ask yourself, how is this like relevant to my real life?
And I mean, it has some value. Doing boring things that you're not interested in has some value, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. Being stuck in a position where you have to do the work without enjoying it, that has value. But then again, when it's something like essay writing,
Mm.
where I am not interested in this
Yeah,
topic,
at all.
I am not going to be interested in this topic 15 years later.
Yeah.
This is something that teacher, that other educator I was talking about, helped me with actually. He changed his way of teaching completely.
Wow.
Not completely, I mean, with essays only. So I guess it's a very small part that he changed. But sometimes I'll say sentences and then I'll be like, oh
That's
no, I
okay.
just wanted it to sound cool. That's not what I meant at all.
Thank God for editing. That's fine.
So he would put on, he would write a couple of topics of essays on the board, and he'd say like, you go ahead and write these or whatever. Okay, like these are the homework, masalan. Uh, and I would not do them and come in the next day and he'd be like, why didn't you do any or whatever? And I think because the topics are boring. I don't care about them. And he's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, I want you to give more choices. It's like, okay. Cool. He didn't say anything. He didn't
Wow.
scold me. He didn't do anything. So before, if he used to write one or two, now he wrote five or
Wow,
six.
that's interesting.
And he's like, go ahead, choose one. If you still don't like one, tell me
That's nice. I like that.
or come up with one.
That's amazing.
And that's coming back to what we were talking about earlier, how a lot of times in life, all you really need to do is ask.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's giving you the respect you deserve as a student because he's respecting your intellect. Like and you're honest with him. Like, listen, I thank you for the topics, but they're bored, they're horrible.
Yeah.
Engage me, give me something. Okay, what do you want?
And when you have someone come up to you, whether it's a junior in your professional life or it's a student or any uh, a person that looks up to you, let's say, that you have more experience than, you need to be in a position or in a mindset rather where you consider the possibility that they have the solution.
True.
You consider the
100%.
possibility that they know something.
Exactly.
You consider the possibility that they might know what they're talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah. I agree. Yeah.
and treat them as such.
That's so true.
And that completely alleviates the pressure they're
Mm,
feeling as well,
yeah.
because it's stressful to go up to
Oh yeah.
what's it called, someone higher in the hierarchy than you, and say that, hey, I think you're doing something wrong.
True, true.
Hey, I think you should be doing this better, because most people don't listen,
That's
most people
true.
don't care.
Yeah. And somehow it makes it more interesting because you're taking the students' feedback into consideration and you're giving them, let's say, authority to a certain extent over what they can talk about, what they can write about, and so on. It's almost like moving into like a new house. Let's say you have kids and you move into a new house, and the kids feel like, it's like it's everything feels foreign to them because it's a new house. But then you tell your child, go decorate your room.
Hmm.
So you give them that authority to do whatever they want, paint the walls, and
And the thing about giving authority in such a situation is you also take away the excuse.
yeah, exactly. You have no more excuses now, right? What's your
Yeah.
excuse?
Okay, you don't want to do the work? Do you
Why?
want to do this work? And what? No, wait. I won't ask you if you want to do this work instead. I'll ask you, what work do you want to do?
That's true. Yeah, exactly.
And then when you answer,
Halas. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
go
yeah,
do it then.
yeah. You've disarmed that student, right? That's smart. Yeah, there you go.
And it works with your own, let's say, planning on what to do with life
Yeah,
as well.
100%. Yeah,
Okay, I don't want to do this difficult thing, but you're gonna have to
you
do
have
a
to.
difficult thing. So
Yeah,
which one is it gonna be?
exactly.
Is it gonna be having a headache tomorrow, or is it gonna be sleeping on time tonight?
Yeah, true. Yeah, because you give that person the consequences of their actions, right? You're free to do whatever you want, but you have to bear the consequences because you made that decision, right? You want to stay up? Hey, listen, tomorrow you're gonna have a headache, right? It's up to you. So it's nice. Like you kind of give them ownership of their learning, which is nice, or like their behavior.
100%. Beautiful. We can take a little break now if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, so we were talking about how I get stared at. No, but before we took a pause, a bit more on that. What I wanted to ask is, to keep it simple, like, does it get too much helping out? Do you think sometimes you're giving more than you can afford, let's say?
Yes, definitely. Sometimes it
Because
can.
it does take a toll, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
not.
I remember when I first got married, my wife was kind of shocked. Like, why are you? Well, is this part of the contracts, or why are you helping? Like, why are you doing all this extra stuff?
What
Uh,
extra stuff
like
were you
the
doing?
just like helping students out. Like I'll get emails and messages from students. Sir, I have this issue happening in my life, or how do I like this person? How do I approach them? Or I just broke up with my whatever fiance. How can I how can I navigate those feelings? And I would do my best with the limited knowledge I have of such issues, and I send them an email, trying to comfort them or trying to give them some form of advice from my own experience. And my wife would, she would see me, type out these emails and Mohammed, is this part of your job? I'm like, no, but I mean, I just enjoy helping students. So it did take a toll on me somehow because, as you said, instead of using this energy for something else, I'm putting I'm putting this energy back into the students. I did enjoy it because I felt like students trusted me enough to come and ask me certain questions.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just if you could move your mic where it's on the outside, like wine, instead of no, like unclip it
Yeah,
and clip it in a way that it's outside
like
and
this,
not
right?
inside the shirt,
Oh wait, like this, right?
like
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Because then every time you move your neck, it's
I
gonna,
see. Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, it does take a toll on you, and it's like I don't wanna like compare myself to like a psychiatrist, but imagine
That's what I was gonna ask you next because you're not a mental health
I'm
expert.
not
You
at
don't know
all.
how
No,
to
no,
deal with
no.
it yourself.
Oh hell no! I have my own issues. I don't know how to deal with. But the thing is, I feel like when you're a teacher and students trust you, you're kind of put in that position where they just assume that you have solutions to
You have
everything.
all the answers.
Yeah, especially if they trust you. And I'm friendly with my students. Like I joke around with my students sometimes because again, we talked about being there for them, and our class is 2 hours long, and I like making. Sometimes I like making jokes in the class because you have to break up this monotony of the class itself. So and laughing, humor is like universal language. So if students enjoy, if they laugh in your class and they enjoy coming to your class, then you can maybe fool them into teaching something.
Hmm.
So because this is the way I approach teaching, sometimes students misunderstand that and they think that what, okay, Mr. Farhan, I'm going to throw everything on you here. I'm gonna trauma dump everything on you, and then you help me with my issues. And then this puts me like in a very awkward situation where, I think the battery. Wait, I think 1 second. I
Hey,
think
hey, hey, we're complicated enough where we're having technical issues. Let's go.
I think it's either the memory card or the battery. 1 second. Battery. Luckily, I have extra batteries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need any help or?
No, I just need to remove the old battery, put the new one in.
Okay. I'm gonna keep this in.
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm gonna keep that camera in
Yeah, please do.
the whole time. It's just me looking at Mr. Farhan fixing technical issues here. He's the best podcast guest I've ever had. He does half the work himself.
Let's hope this works.
Can you connect the charger to it like while it's running, or is that not a thing?
Can I connect the charger to it? No, I don't think I can. Is it this way? Yeah, I think it's this way. Okay, well, I think. Yeah. Was it on? Yeah,
And we
we're
have the
back.
red light. Beautiful.
Oh, sorry, what were we talking about?
You were talking about students trauma dumping
Yeah,
and how it gets too much.
exactly. So for me, it puts me like in a very awkward situation where I really want to help, but at the same time, I'm not qualified enough. I might give the wrong advice. I might put you into more danger. I might tell you something that might not, just might make the situation worse. So I'm put in this weird situation where I want to help, but I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. But I think the most important thing that students realize is that I'm just there for them. Even though I might not give you the best advice, I might not help you deal with your heartbreak or situation. At least I heard you out and I did what I could, to the best of my capacity.
And that is such a weird responsibility to have because most people that are, let's say, young adults, have that responsibility towards maybe two people, maybe three,
Yeah.
and you have it towards 35
Oof.
at any given time.
Yeah, exactly. If not more, yeah.
If not more, yeah,
Yeah, 'cause-
because it keeps like you keep getting new stock, so
yeah,
to
yeah, all the
speak.
time, and sometimes you get like you have the old stock coming back to
Repeats,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, repeats like
It's a lifetime subscription.
oh my god, forever, right? I actually
Uh,
I've had a few cases where I'm like, listen, dude, I can't help you anymore. Listen, I'm not qualified. I like they have serious issues like mental issues, and I'm like, listen, I want to help you, but
I'm not that person.
I'm not that person. Please seek somebody. And the thing is, in Kuwait, like from my experience, if you want to seek a professional, they're really expensive. It's not cheap to get actually to get therapy, right?
It's not just that that's the only barrier uh, with being expensive. People pay 80 KD a month for gyms.
Mm.
That's fine. That is something still doable. But the stigma associated with it to some extent, and a lot of times it is self-inflicted because
Mm.
for the general public at this day and age, if you go ahead and it comes up in conversation and you mention that, oh yeah, I go to therapy, and it's like, oh okay, cool. For the most part, no
Yeah.
one's like, I'm bad. Like you go to what? You go to therapy?
Yeah,
What? Are you okay? Are you gonna kill someone? No, like it's not that intense anymore
that's
as it
true.
used to be,
Yeah,
even just a decade ago.
that's true. Yeah,
It's not that intense at all. But still, that self-inflicted or self-limiting, let's say,
mm,
um, stigma where you're like, oh, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that crazy that I go to therapy
that's true.
because then it's real. You know, then it's not just thoughts in my head. Then I am a legit crazy person because that's what we still think. We are in a spot in society at this moment where we're like, oh yeah, okay, but some people go to therapy, whatever, but I can't be that person.
Mm, that's true.
Like, you know, so there's still that aspect associated with it. But at the same time, most people in that age are in an incredibly weird spot in their life where they've never been before.
Yeah, exactly.
They're holding proper responsibility for the first time in their life. They're falling in love or falling
Mm,
out of love for the first time in their life.
yeah,
They're making life altering decisions for the first time in their life,
exactly.
lifelong decisions for the first time in their life. And they're also being, thanks to you and people like yourself, they're being actually, what would you call it? Think open or
Understanding, open, accepting.
how would you say this? Like, I forget the word where you're like actually in tune with your emotions, where you're being,
Introvert? No, I'm just introvert. Introspective.
yes, I guess you could call it that. Yeah,
Okay.
introspective, where you're like actually
In tune
thinking
with,
about
yeah,
thinking about what's going on with your emotions in front of a person that's not a family member.
exactly. Yeah,
Because again, where we live, because of that, because of being from brown families, we've never done that. We've never done that with our family members or with our friends
wow.
for the most part.
Yeah, it's not
And
something we do.
yeah, and then that's the first time that's available, and people don't know what to do with it
Yeah, true, true. Yeah,
because it is essentially kids. Just because their age is what like 21 or whatever, it doesn't mean they're an adult
yeah,
yet.
100%. Yeah. I mean, physically you could look like an adult, but mentally you could still be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and at least in that regard, you might be really progressed and have wisdom in other aspects of life,
yeah,
but you don't understand yourself. You don't understand your
yeah.
emotions and how they affect your life.
Exactly, exactly.
And that's the first time you're being given a stage, so to speak,
Mm,
to talk about it and to let it out.
that's true.
And you don't know how to do it.
That's true. Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's not
And
easy.
this volatile group of humans, when they see an opportunity with you to let it all out, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah, they go all out. Honestly, some of them just they. I've had students come to my office and they would cry, like they would sit and cry. It was like a therapy session. I mean, the only thing missing is just the lounge.
The long sofa.
Yeah, the long sofa, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I always have two tissue boxes, one for students, one for myself. And yeah, I told you, it gets sometimes it gets overwhelming. To be honest, I get I just like I go back home mentally drained. Like honestly, I just can't speak to anybody, or I've just had too much thrown at me. But again, at the same time, I feel like I'm blessed in a way because at least these students trust me with their secrets, with their traumas, with their like they need help. They want help and they come to me. So in a way, it's kind of like I'm grateful for that. But at the same time, as I
You're
said,
also worried.
yeah, it's worrying for me as well because I just hope I can give them the right advice.
And then what effect is that having? And tell me at any time if it's too personal to talk about. What effect is that having with your personal life? As in, like when you get home,
Yeah,
a normal person with a normal 9 to 5, where me, for example, I'm talking to clients, I'm talking to my manager, I'm talking to a couple of colleagues, whatever. I'm dealing with work stuff.
yeah,
I need like 15 minutes, 20 minutes to de-stress and like forget about work, and now I'm gonna enter the home.
yeah.
What's that part of your day looking like when you're coming back home, and how, not even quickly, how fully can you turn that off and then be available for your wife,
Mm.
be available for your kids?
It's not easy. I feel like I can't fully turn it off. There's always like this kind of noise in the background of my head. This thing, where especially when like with like serious issues, I try to find a way to kind of deal with it. I try to kind of push it to the back of my mind to kind of give my wife and kids the attention that that they deserve when I finish work. But to be honest, sometimes it just keeps me up at night. Sometimes some of the things I hear from students, they just keep me up at night. And yeah, it takes a toll on you. As I said. But then again, as I said, it's like a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because you live the worries and the fears and the anxieties that these students have. But at the same time, it's a blessing because they see something in you, and that's why they came and they approached you and they told you in the first place. So it's like they entrust me with their worries, but then I adopt their worries and then I become that person.
Hmm.
So I think the secret is to find a balance. You can't take everything and you can't fully embrace everything. You have to take what you can, and then I mean for your sanity, obviously.
And you can't save everyone
Yeah,
either.
exactly. Exactly. So that's like the starfish example I gave you. I can only save maybe 10 every day. I can't do more than that. Like you have a limit. You're emotional. Like you have like an emotional limit, a mental limit. But then after that, I mean, you could break down. You could not get good sleep. So you have to know where your limit is and say, I've taken my dose for today, and then maybe come tomorrow or speak to me tomorrow. I'll see what I can do.
And of course, there is value in that, however few starfish you're saving. Okay?
Definitely.
There is an intangible amount. Like you can't really put a number on
Oh
it,
yeah. Oh yeah.
but it's great. How are you setting a boundary though? How are you saying that, oh, this is enough?
Hmm.
And how are you bending, what takes you for you to bend that boundary? That once you've reached it, I don't know how long it took you, or if you're still in the process of knowing where the boundary is,
Hmm.
because like you're saying, you're not completely turning it off. So
Yeah.
maybe the boundary is somewhere behind you already.
So
But then again, how are you pushing it further, and when are you pushing it further? When, I don't know, a student comes in and uh, it really is that urgent. It really is
hmm.
that the world really is on fire for
Yeah.
them, at least.
Sometimes the boundaries get blurred. To be honest, like I don't know, like if I'm taking on too much or not doing enough. So I kind of like you get lost. Because I lose myself as a teacher. I'm not a teacher anymore. I'm this person, I'm like an older brother or like a sage or something, who's trying to help this person. But then when it gets to when I feel like I just can't do anymore, like my job is done, I might recommend seeing a specific person, someone who's more knowledgeable than me, or someone who has more expertise in that specific area. Or sometimes what I like to do is I like to recommend a book that might help because books are soothing. When you read a book, like a good book, that is, let's say, inspirational or motivational, you forget your worries. You forget your like. I love reading autobiographies because you learn from the mistakes of other people. Like
Mm.
instead of going through this, like I know what it's like to be rich and famous because I've read a lot of biographies about celebrities and so on. So sometimes just by reading a good book or reading a book about someone who's been through something and has overcome that obstacle, then you it kind of gives you that push in life. Like your worries seem insignificant compared to someone who survived the genocide, for example, right? So when you read books written by other people who've been through a, a life that is 100 times worse than yours, you're like, you know what, my life isn't that bad. Maybe the heartbreak I've had isn't that big of a deal.
And the people you want to be like, let's say, the people you look up to, the older brother figure that you mentioned, مثلا, you get to know that they haven't had perfect lives. They haven't got it all figured out even
Okay.
now.
True.
But it may look like it because of the things that you're looking at.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That I think one of the hallmarks of a child becoming an adult is that a few year period that starts with realizing that your father is not Superman, and it ends with realizing no one is.
Yeah, it's true.
And this can last a very long
Oh
time,
yeah.
and this can start very late
True.
for
Yeah.
some for some people. But this is a rite of passage. You
Oh yeah.
have to come to that
You have to go
realization,
through.
and there's no way around it.
Nope.
Whether it's not necessarily your father, it could be your older brother, it could be your mother, it could be whoever,
Someone you look up to.
someone you look up to as a kid. Because I remember the first time I had that realization, that thought was, I think, a bit too early, Saraha. It was in sixth grade
Okay.
or fifth grade, something like that. It was the start of school year. We had traveled during the summer,
Okay.
and I had come back, I think, a couple of days later after school starting. So the first day of school, I didn't have any books yet. We didn't buy them.
Okay.
We didn't have any notebooks. I didn't have any books. I didn't have anything. So I just went to school, and the first or the second period, my dad comes to the door, like directly to my class. Like apparently he had gone to the bookshop that was within the school. He had bought everything, and then he had come. And my class was on the third floor. And my dad was, I'm the youngest child. I think he was in his early 40s at this point, or
Okay.
mid 40s. He wasn't like so old. Uh, mid to late 40s, let's say. And because of climbing 3 flights of stairs, holding those two giant bags of books, he was sweating uh, a lot. Okay, I went to the door and I saw him like trying to catch his breath, and at the same time asking me that, hey, what's it called? Like, which ones are you gonna need, and this and that. And him, like most brown dads, honestly, he was not really involved in my day to day life, let's say, and he didn't know much about what was going on at school. And he had genuine concern and confusion. He's like, "You're gonna have that many books in your bag every day? Like you're gonna carry those every day?" It's like, "Yes, that's how it goes." Yeah, uh, because we had like 8 subjects, so that's like 8 notebooks and 8 books. For example, at the bare
Yeah,
minimum,
that's
it's
crazy.
like 16 books.
Yeah.
Uh, and I take those from him, and I'm like trying to offer him a water from my water bottle, and that was the first time I realized that, hey, that's a person. Uh, that's just like a human. Uh,
Oh,
that's a human, and that's human with an unfortunately a finite
wow.
lifespan, and he's getting older, and he's getting weaker,
Wow.
and it doesn't go the other way.
Wow.
That's like a one-way thing, and he's not, like I said, Superman.
Yeah,
He's just a person,
that's true.
and I've never been the same.
Really?
But
Wow.
that was
Life changing moment.
quite literally life-changing moment.
Wow. I,
Because after that, I'm sorry to
no,
cut
go
you
ahead.
off, but because after that, it took me a few years to realize and stop looking for another Superman. Let's say it wasn't my uncle, it wasn't my older brother, it wasn't any of them.
Nothing.
Because with my uncle, what happened was I once asked him something. For the first time in my life, I asked him something he didn't have the answer to.
Okay.
Okay. And for my brother, and I know it sounds basic, it doesn't sound profound, but it was to me. And then for my brother, my oldest brother, I asked him to do something for me, and he didn't have the time for it for whatever reason. Maybe I asked him to tie my laces or
Yeah.
help me tie my laces, and he was in a hurry to leave and get somewhere. And I was like, what?
What's going on?
What is this? Well, I thought like everyone had all the time in the world and everyone had all the answers and everyone had all the strength because you're adults. You're supposed to have
Yeah. You have that image of them. That's true.
And once that gets shattered,
That's it.
that's when you know, oh, okay, now I'm growing up.
Wow. Interesting. I like that. I like that epiphany that you had, like this sudden like realization. Oh my god. But I think it's important that kids have that image of their parents, or at least adults, when they're younger. It's
Oh, 100%. At
yeah,
least for the first few years of life,
exactly. Yeah,
no doubt,
yeah.
100%. That's essential.
Like they have to find someone like a superhero or some role model they look up to. They feel safe around. They because you don't like want to shatter the image at like a young age. You want them to believe that yes, there are good people. I am a role model. I pretend to have all the answers.
The metaphorical Santa Claus does not have zero value,
That's true.
for sure.
Yeah. Even Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, whatever it may be to make the kids believe in magic, let's say, it doesn't have zero value because it's a way of not only giving them hope for the future, let's say, it's also a way to let them be at ease.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's say, be kids.
That's true. And develop their imagination as well.
100%,
Mm,
because then they're not bound by whatever the adults are bound by.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because
Because
as yeah, sorry, go.
having those, so to speak, rocks in place makes them gives them the ability to go
True.
wild.
Yeah. True. I remember when my daughter found out that the tooth fairy was just some creature. She was devastated. Like she was like, "That seriously?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Who's been writing me all these letters?" I'm like, "It was me. It was me." And she was
You were
disappointed.
writing her
Yeah, of
letters?
course.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it was cute because she would like her tooth would fall out. She would write a little letter, "Dear Tooth Fairy, this is my third tooth. Whatever, please take it. I don't want anything. I just want you to be happy. Whatever." And then I would have
Oh
to,
my God,
yeah,
that's so
that is
sweet.
adorable, man. And I would take the letter and I would try to change my handwriting and draw little drawings and. She would have this conversation. I mean, I was exhausted. She, it wasn't like a one time transaction.
It's been going on for like 7 years.
Dude, that's like I'm sick and tired of writing these letters. And then she figured it all out. Her friend, I didn't want her to find out. To be honest, I wanted this to go on as long as possible. But then her friend in school was like, tooth fairies don't exist. And then she confronts me. She's like, "Dad," I'm like, "Oh, like we're gonna have to have." I'm like, "Sit down. Let's have this conversation." She's like, "Is it true?" I'm like, "Listen, yeah."
How old was she at this point?
I think she was like 8 or something.
I
But I'm like, because she was having so much fun. Honestly, like whatever she wanted to, like if she had a fight, she's like, "I'm gonna go tell the tooth fairy." And she would write these really beautiful letters. She would draw and paint and whatever, and she would put them underneath her pillow, and she would be excited the next morning to wake up and find something like a response. Obviously, I was doing everything, but it was interesting for like a couple of years. It was like a lot of fun. And she believed in this tooth fairy, and she asked me questions. Does God send the tooth fairy? What does she look like? Does she make my dreams come true? Like she had really philosophical and valid questions about the tooth fairy. Where does she live? Does she see me? Honestly, did God send her? It's really interesting, and I was having fun with it as well. I was just developing her imagination, making her believe in better things, hope. Making her believe that if you can dream it, you can achieve it, things like that. But then her friend had to ruin everything for
swear to God. Could have gone on for a long time. One letter could have been like, my third kid's first tooth fell out today. Dear tooth.
her. Honestly, I could have had a good like 2 more years, but yeah, we had to cut it short because of her friend. But I still remember her face. She was shocked, like, "Baba, the tooth fairy doesn't exist." I'm like, "No." So who was writing the letters? I'm like, "It was me." Like, "You, Baba?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I think she was more disappointed that I was writing letters, I think, than anything else.
She didn't expect you to be this cool.
Yeah. You're in a tooth fairy? I'm like, yeah, I'm so sorry to disappoint you, you know? But yeah, it's interesting.
A lot of fun. Like kids are great, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Kids are they're basically the force of good in the world.
I swear to God.
Essentially, that they're the compass that adults use because when you get down to it, why are you doing anything positive that you're doing?
100%.
Why are you putting out any good in the world that you're putting out? Because you're trying to quite literally create a better world for your kids.
100%, yeah, man. Everything you do is for them. I mean, before I became a father, it was all me, 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 you know, my needs, my happiness, my whatever. You go from selfish to selfless, and like, as soon as you see your child, as soon as you see your child, it's like you switch. Your priorities change. It's not about you anymore. It's not about, you know, the car you've always wanted. It's about making this child happy. It's about
And you can't really be a force for good, so to speak, unless you genuinely love something
exactly.
more than yourself,
Oh yeah, yeah.
something outside of yourself.
Oh
And
yeah.
it doesn't have to be a child necessarily.
True.
It can be a cause, it can be an
Yeah.
idea, it can
Exactly.
be a wife,
That's true. 100%. Yeah.
whatever else it may be. Because once you get to that point, then because you're not just trying to upgrade your own life or help yourself, you're trying to make the environment such that they get help.
Excellent. Exactly. And then their happiness becomes your happiness. So
100%.
yeah.
And
So
that's the best kind of
oh
happiness.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly. I mean, like when I see my kids happy, I'm just over the moon. Like you know, their joy, their happiness is my happiness. Their sadness is my agony times 100. You know, like when they get hurt, if they fall, like it kills me more than it kills them. And their happiness is magnified, and it's just your life changes. Like I always tell everybody, like become a parent. Honestly, I know that life is tough and we have issues and so on, but becoming a father for me was like the best day of my life.
Yeah, and then there's also a stupidly simple question of if you don't become a parent, what are you going to do with the last 40-ish years of your life?
Yeah, what
Let's
happens?
say generally a person lives up to, I don't know, 90
Yeah.
now at least. Let's say 85.
Mm.
80, 85 is pretty common nowadays
Yeah.
in the developed world with good healthcare. What are you doing the last 40 years, bro? What are you doing? How much
Yeah.
money are you gonna eat?
Exactly. Yeah.
You're not even gonna be able to travel anymore.
True. True.
You're probably gonna have some sort of bone disease.
Yeah. Yeah.
You,
Parkinson's.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can't get on planes as
Nothing.
much.
Nothing.
I don't know.
Nothing.
Your lungs are pretty much, I don't know, at 60% capacity now.
If you're lucky. Yeah. Honestly, they bring you joy that is hard to explain. Even my parents, they enjoy seeing my kids. Like they become almost childish seeing my children.
Because it's genuine happiness.
Yeah.
It's not happiness with any motive,
Exactly.
let's say.
Exactly.
It's not, you don't have any motive, you don't have any aim with it.
True.
It's
Yeah.
just the purest form of joy,
Exactly.
quite
Exactly.
literally.
And I get jealous. I'm like, Mom, I don't remember you being excited seeing me. I'm like, shut up. Where's your kid? You know?
Like,
Honestly, like,
your
and
kid's cuter.
yeah, and she pampers him. I hope my mom doesn't say this, but she pampers him to the degree where I get jealous. I'm like, Mom, that's enough. Like, stop buying him stuff. I don't remember having that many toys. It's like, Shh, he's my he's my grandson. Just be quiet, you know. So and they become like I remember my dad's. I've never seen my dad dance ever in my life. Like he's never like got on dance with me. Never. 2 weeks ago, he danced with my child. I swear to God, I'm like,
How
Baba, where were
jealous
you?
and offended were you?
Honestly, like, where was this joy when I was growing up? He never did that. And when I honestly saw him dance with my child, I'm like, I don't know this version of you. Like, where were you? Where was this joy? Where was this? Where were these moves? Like, you can break dance. You almost said like he was dancing, grooving with my kid, and I'm like, this is insane. Like, I've never seen my dad do that ever in my life, ever. Like, I don't remember a moment where he was dancing. Like, he grabbed my arms and danced. But he was doing this with my child. They become childlike, I swear. And you see I see my dad's like genuine happiness, and my kid is having a blast. So I don't know. There's just something about becoming a parent, man. Honestly, it just everything shifts. Like right now, it's like you and Judy. Like it's like your world and her world, right? But then when you have kids, you have this amazing thing that you brought into this world that brings you both together, and then like your sole focus is just the happiness and the health of this child, you know, which
And
is
what's best for the child.
exactly everything. Like everything you do, you work harder, you work extra shifts, you do everything just to see this kid smile, you know. It's beautiful.
That is beautiful. And to take it back a bit with how we treat kids, and tell me if I'm accurate with this because I'm gonna go out on a limb.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you saw in your teenagers or late childhood, let's say, because early childhood we don't really remember anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you thought was lacking, whatever you thought was not as it should be, or now you look back at it and you realize that. I would argue, or I would say that that's exactly what you're trying to provide, not just your own kids, but also your students, because your students are more similar in age to the point in life that you remember,
True. Yeah, that's so true. Exactly. Yeah.
right? Well, because your kids, I'm assuming, are all younger than 10, 12,
Yeah. They're
right?
exactly
They're 10 and under.
10, 8, 4. Yeah.
Yeah, inshallah. So you don't really, I would assume, remember what was going on when
No,
you were 10,
no idea.
right?
No idea.
But you do remember what was going on when you were 19,
Yes, for
when you
sure.
were 21.
Yeah.
So what do you say to that? Like, are you trying to create the kind of world that Farran, the child, or Farran, the young teenager, would have thrived
Oh
in?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. I mean, as you said, I don't really remember much from my childhood when I was like, let's say at that age, 10, 8, 4. But obviously, I'm trying to provide the best possible childhood with what I know. Whatever was lacking from my childhood, I try to kind of provide to them or give to them. And I don't like blame my parents, obviously, because you know they try to do their best with the limited knowledge that they
They
have.
were doing the same exact thing as
Yeah,
you are,
exactly.
just with different
It was like a different time period,
different time
different way of
period,
raising
different
children.
knowledge, and it's still an upgrade every
Exactly,
generation,
exactly.
ideally at
Yeah.
least.
My kids, when they get older, hopefully, inshallah, and if I'm still alive, they will probably look back and say, "Whoa, dad was a bit toxic in that area." But again, I was just doing the best with what I had, with the knowledge I had. So obviously, things change. But yeah, because I think when you're like a teenager and you go through like this kind of rebellious phase, like you kind of like rebel against your parents and you become this outcast and rebel and so on. We tend to criticize our parents for raising us in a certain way. Oh, my parents were toxic and I have all this childhood trauma because of them. But then if you think of the knowledge that they had and the wisdom that they had, maybe they were victims of their own upbringing. You know what I mean? So maybe they were,
Not maybe 100%,
yeah.
a
So
100%, not victims necessarily, but products. Let's say,
exactly, yeah. Products is a better word. Yeah.
yeah,
So I don't blame my parents. I just say they did the best they could with what they had, and in the society that we lived in. And when you become a parent yourself, you're supposed to be wise enough to understand what was right and what is, let's say, wrong, and then maybe try to adjust it and move on and raise your kids in a, let's say, better way or in a way that is um, more appropriate to their age or to the age that you're living in.
yeah, and the way people live lives and what we do in a day to day has never. That's just a cat. Don't
Oh,
worry.
okay. Like, is there someone else?
Yeah, he's trying to escape.
Oh, okay.
And what we do on a day to day basis has never progressed or changed as fast as it has now.
Yeah, it's true.
My father, growing up when he was 10 ish, 10, 12, whatever, like very early teens, let's say, he would quite literally go to the forest and cut down wood, like
Wow.
with his siblings or with his cousins,
Yeah.
and bring that and lay it down on the roof of their house so it dries so it can be used the next week for cooking,
Wow.
and bring down the one that they left out to dry the week previous. I have a gas stove that I don't like because it's hard to use for me sometimes, even though it has the electric tick, 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 tick thing and it turns
Yeah.
on. it just scares me.
Yeah.
Like, why do I need this fire in my house? What am I, a caveman? I want an electric one.
Yeah.
Like, I prefer using the electric thing. And I'm like, okay, we're good.
I see.
Uh,
Look at the difference between generations, huh?
and that's one generation.
Yeah.
And the man who grew up quite literally chopping down trees.
The
If
forest.
I come to him and I say that, Dad, you know what? I had a really bad day at school and people were mean to me, and you don't even ask me about that. I'm speaking a different
Yeah,
language,
exactly.
bro.
It's like, yeah. It's a different
He
age.
doesn't know this language.
That's so true. So
Like,
true.
there's no way I can expect him
To understand.
to not just understand, but to relate in any stretch
Shape.
of the
Yeah.
imagination,
It's impossible.
in any meaning of that word,
That's true,
because he saw two cars until he was 14.
yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Until the age of 14, he had seen two
Oh, wow.
cars,
Wow.
and then he came to Kuwait, and there were like more.
Oh, my goodness. That's crazy,
He
man.
started working without a salary at the age of 14 or 15.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Worked for 3 months without a salary
Oof.
at that age. And
That's
by
insane.
work, I mean
Like,
for, I think, a good 3 decades of his life, 30 to 35 years, his working hours were 10 to 12 hours a day, at least. Fridays were half day,
oh my God. No days off?
no days off.
10 to 12 hours a day?
He was going to work at 8 to 9 a.m., coming home during the afternoon for like an hour and a half,
Oh my
and then
God.
going back and coming back at like 10:30,
That's,
depending on the work.
that's like illegal today.
Pretty sure it was illegal then too. But it still goes on. I
Yeah.
mean, at like garages and stuff,
Mm,
because that's where he worked.
I see.
He worked at a garage.
I see. Wow.
And for that man to come home and have his kids say, I don't know, I'm sad because someone bullied me online. Or
Yeah. What are you
like,
talking
what does that mean? Why didn't you turn off the phone?
That's so true. Yeah, it's a different language, as you said. Yeah.
So again, coming back to the point we talked about earlier, that's the worst thing that's happened to me.
Mm.
That doesn't necessarily mean it'll translate to him.
Yeah.
It'll get through to him, and I can't blame him for that.
True. True.
There's no way I can blame him for that. That the normal, the acceptable was a different uh, universe
Yeah.
for them.
And this
The
applies to teaching.
normal, and it keeps going, yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem with today is that it's just picking up pace,
Mm.
and it's getting faster and faster,
Yeah, it's getting super fast.
and it's concerning. And this is the one thing that makes me feel old already, because I'll talk to because I've told you about this. I sometimes teach ESL,
Mm.
um, or just give speech training. I'll talk to a 16-year-old, and they're talking about how, I don't know, some TikTok trend that's very relevant to their life at that point, or some creator that's very relevant to them at that point. And it genuinely sounds like a different language to me.
Yeah.
It genuinely sounds alien to me.
True.
Like, I cannot relate
Relate
with
at
that
all.
already. And that's so concerning, because you and me were what, 10 years apart? What happens when me and my kid are 30 years apart?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What's
Oh yeah.
what's that looking like?
Get ready.
Because okay, I'll adopt new technology, I'll change my ways, I know that, but not at the same pace.
Oh no. Yeah.
Nowhere near at the same pace.
That's true. It's difficult. You have to put in the effort to go down to their level at certain times because you need to. I mean, like, you need to connect with your kids. So you have to go down. You have to understand what they're watching, the trends. Um, if you ask kids today, a lot of them want to be YouTubers. So I mean, this was like unheard of like 10, 20 years ago. What is like YouTube? But it's very normal to have students who want to be fashionistas, social media influencers, bloggers, YouTubers, and so on. And you have to understand, where is this coming from? Why do you want to be a YouTuber? What's the appeal, or why do you want to be a food blogger? So I think they just see people with power and influence online. They make tons of money. I'm like, hey, why not? If they can do that, why can't I do that?
Yeah, scary times.
It
Every
is.
now and then I'll see some weird trend on TikTok, especially with the lives.
Yeah.
Do you know about this?
No, I don't have
Okay,
TikTok.
let me ruin your day a bit. Uh, so there's this thing that's going on, and I don't know if it still goes on. I don't have TikTok, thankfully, on my phone.
I don't
Never
have it
had,
either.
never
No,
will.
my wife does, unfortunately.
This thing is basically they have like a ring light like this. They have a phone in the middle, and they're gone live, and they get these gifts. They're called.
Okay.
Okay, where I'm probably butchering this, but just to get you the general idea, you get on TikTok as a viewer,
Okay.
you buy up gifts with real money,
Okay.
and the gifts are worth, I don't know, 500 points, 1,000 points, whatever. You spend a few dollars on those.
Okay.
And then what the gift is maybe it's like the image of a cat popping up, or a lion, or a bear, whatever.
Okay.
And then you go give that gift to the person in the live.
Okay.
Okay, who's going live? You as a viewer go and give them the gift
Okay.
that you bought with real money. And if it's a cat, masalan, the person that's live will start making cat noises, like meow, 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 and just keep making cat noises until they get the next gift. And the next gift is a bear, so then they'll make bear noises. And these
Mm.
lives, hear me out on this,
It
okay?
gets worse.
Yeah, it gets significantly worse. Don't worry. These lives go on for 4 to 6 hours.
4 to 6 hours
Easy.
meowing and
Just making sounds, just like doing hand actions like with the cat and making sounds, okay? And then like licking
oh
your
my
hand
god,
because
oh my
someone
god,
gave you a pancake,
oh my god.
okay? And they make like $16,000 from one stream. Or and
I
this
can
is
see the appeal.
after
I can see the appeal
this is
now.
after TikTok share.
Oh my
Okay, so
god.
this is, we think we have brain rot. We're convinced we have brain rot because
Yeah.
we can't stop scrolling reels.
Man, that's insane.
But this is the next level.
Of insanity, of brain rot. This is brain rot version 2. Man, that's insane. That doesn't make sense. It's hard for me to comprehend.
Wait,
God.
I am not the expert on this. I want to have like a TikTok person
You have
come
to have
here
some
and destroy my sense of the world. Because I had a friend explain this to me I'm sure I'm completely outdated by now, because my friend that explained this to me explained it like a few months ago,
Hmm.
almost a year ago actually.
Oh, something else definitely now. There's like a new trend. There has to be a new trend or new.
Yeah, no, this live thing I think it still goes on. Another thing that happens are called competitions,
Okay.
okay, where two people come live together,
Okay.
like they're in their
Different
homes,
worlds.
whatever, but the live is being shown together.
Okay.
So they'll give each other challenges,
Okay.
okay, where no, wait, to preface that, they're still trying to get as many gifts as possible and increase their points. And if I get more points than you, then I'll give you a challenge.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you deny the challenge, you like lose and you gotta go and someone else is gonna come
Okay.
live with me. It's like that. Which kind of makes sense in principle. Okay,
Okay.
that, oh, two people are trying to be entertaining, who's more entertaining stays, and then so you try to get the most entertaining duo, basically. But that's not what's going on. What's going on is they're spending the whole time, because they can't hear each other, they've muted each other. They're
Okay.
trying to talk to the audience. And the whole time they're just shouting, "Give me the gift, give me this, give me this, give me this gift, give me this gift." The whole time. And they're swearing at the other person. like swearing at them. Okay. And of course, the other person doing the same thing. And then finally, when one of them wins, then the timer runs out, whatever. And they give the other the most humiliating challenge you can think of
Oh
that's
my god.
legal
Oh
to
my god.
display.
Oh my god.
Okay. It would be whatever worst thing that's coming to your mind, it's worse.
Oh my god. And
Okay.
legal, legal, like
The
the
only
TikTok
limitation
standards.
is that it's legal.
Oh my god.
Okay.
That's not saying much on TikTok
That's
either.
not saying much, and that's still pushing the boundaries, you know.
Exactly.
Uh, Anything from like slapping their face to painting it black to tearing their shirt,
Just
everything.
humiliating, just
And then the other person
degrading.
happily does it too because they know like they're making money from it.
Mm, unbelievable.
And out of all of this, because entertainers have always been a very small niche in society.
Yeah.
And within that, good quality entertainers are almost non-existent.
Yeah.
Okay, they always have been. Like there's one Frank Sinatra. There was, I don't know, a few million guitar players. So these people, there's a justification in your mind that, oh yeah, of course they're crazy, whatever. Okay, well, there's just two people. The problem is that the live view count will be 100K people,
Oh,
will be 35,000 people on a
wow.
smaller one. These people, yeah, you have to imagine a person that's actually sitting with their phone, looking at it, two people shouting and swearing at each other. They're like, oh, yeah, this is fine. I guess this is entertainment.
Hmm. I mean, I
What
understand
do
what
you
you're saying.
think of that?
Isn't it similar to like UFC or boxing, where you just have two people, two strangers? I don't know if you're a fan. I mean, I like watching.
That is so offensive
No, I
that
mean,
you
I'm so
would
sorry. I
draw
know.
that comparison.
No, but I mean, isn't this worse? I mean, think about it for a second, because you have two strangers who are senselessly beating each other to a pulp. They know nothing about each other, but they're doing it for attention, fame, and
No,
money.
no. That's not at all it. With UFC and mixed martial arts, it's lifelong training. It's quite literally lifelong training at becoming the best at beating another person up.
Hmm.
That's a different story completely.
Okay, there is discipline involved. There is.
There is an insane amount of discipline
Hmm.
involved, and there's an insane amount of respect involved as well. Because when you see Conor McGregor, it's easy to go like, oh, he's just making fun of every opponent and he's like swearing at them
Yeah.
and doing whatever. But if he didn't have respect for his opponent, he wouldn't get in the ring with them,
Hmm.
right? If he didn't think that the opponent was an actual competition, that it was something worthy of a fight, they wouldn't get in the ring together.
But what
And
about?
you've seen that like there a lot of times you'll see that they one of the competitors has an opportunity to quite literally break the other person's arm and they
Hmm.
don't do it.
They don't do it. Yeah.
They're not actually trying to harm the other person. It's a show of skill.
Hmm.
It's a show of mastery rather more than just skill.
But don't you feel like things are changing a bit? People are becoming, let's say, like these social media influencers. They're like kind of jumping into like boxing and so on, and it's like I think Mike Tyson has a fight coming up with
Yeah,
versus.
those are just big paydays. Can you really
Mm,
blame them? If you could make millions of dollars, no matter how rich you are, why wouldn't you do it?
mm.
That's a different story.
But isn't that like an insult to the skill
To
and
the
discipline
sport,
to the sport itself, right?
boxing honestly has been getting insulted for a
Mm,
minute now. I had
right?
because boxing really always has been not always for a long time now has been a money grab.
Mm,
Like those olden days are gone, so to speak. Now a lot of times all the big fighters will have contracts with different promotions, and they'll never be able to fight each other
yeah.
unless some Saudi trillionaire says that, oh, you'll come here,
Yeah. True.
fight on my boat,
Yeah.
quite literally,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then that would happen. So then you would see an actual match of skill. Otherwise,
Mm,
it's just running around and point
I
saving,
see. Okay. Okay.
and not actual like Mike Tyson days, Muhammad Ali days.
Mohammed Ali. Yeah.
That boxing is sadly gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
But now what's replaced it is UFC. UFC is the quite literally the best of the best
Mm.
in the world going against each other.
Yeah.
And they're not bound by contracts the same way because it is pretty much the only one. There are some others like one FC
Yeah.
and what's it called?
Pride.
There's an Asian one, Pride, I
Pride, I
think.
think.
Yeah. Um, but generally speaking, UFC is the one,
The one I see.
right? And there you'll see fighters that are just straight up killers and they live like that. That's the most important thing in their life. And they've spent decades training, perfecting every possible thing they can think
I
of.
see. Do you have a favorite fighter?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I watch just matches and enjoy those.
Okay.
Not really. I'm more into because UFC is not like any other sport, in my opinion at least. It's not like, oh, I support Real Madrid, so I'm gonna stay doing that. It's more of, for me at least, it's more of just getting entertained by the insane amount of skill that's shown. Because the more you learn about fighting, the more impossible the things that they're doing look.
That's true. Yeah.
Because an untrained eye just looking at the fight would be like, oh, that's just two people hugging aggressively and then punching every now and then.
It's not like that at all. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
definitely not it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite insane the level of focus and clarity of mind they have in the most chaotic environment
That's
possible.
true. Yeah.
Because they're essentially playing chess
Yeah.
while being on fire.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I like
Right?
that. Yeah.
That's fighting.
That's true.
Because they can't make one dumb move, no matter how much pain they're in,
Yeah, you're done.
no matter how bad of a situation you're in. If you do one dumb thing, if you do one thing out of pressure, that's it. That's the end of the match.
That's true. Yeah. But I think it takes. I think it takes knowledge for people to appreciate what these guys are doing. Because without knowledge, as you said, it's just like two guys hugging each other and just beating each other senseless. But there's a lot of skill, discipline, wit that kind of goes into it. You have to.
100%, yeah.
You know, it's entertaining.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
It's very entertaining.
But I don't know why, for some reason, it reminds me of the days of the Colosseum, where we had gladiators, like savagely, do you know what I mean? Like there's some sort of
Savagery in it.
yeah, like because I remember the first time I saw a UFC, I was shocked. Like a long, long time ago, the first like couple of UFCs where there wasn't even like any weight class. It was just
And there were no rules.
no
Yeah.
rules. You guys
Pretty much no rules.
yeah. I was shocked. I'm like, what is this a sport? And now I think they have there's like a slapping competition. Maybe
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's too much. Come on, man. That's like you're asking for a freaking concussion.
And yeah, almost every match someone gets a concussion. That's
That's so
kinda,
violent.
but it's also insanely entertaining. And it's also Dana White, like the guy,
That guy,
who owns and runs the UFC. He started that, and it's like his baby, the
Uh,
slapping competition.
Really?
And almost everyone disagrees with him on it,
Yeah.
even within the company.
Really?
And he's basically just capitalizing on the short attention spans
That's
that
true.
everyone has.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I show you a face of a person, and I tell you, and I convince you with 100% surety that that person's about to get slapped. Can you do anything else in your life until that person gets slapped? Think about it.
I mean,
Your life is paused.
Yeah, I mean-
Khalas, no matter what you had to do,
yeah,
no matter how late you are for work,
yeah.
no matter how loud your baby's crying, that person's about to get slapped in the next 3 to 4 seconds.
You're gonna watch it. Yeah, I know, man. But there's a weird at least with UFC, there's skill, there's discipline, there's like upsets, there's surprises. But with that slapping thing, it's
Yeah,
just
I know. In comparison, obviously, there's
Yeah.
nothing. Like you could maybe train your neck, I think.
Yeah. There's another one. I don't know. I don't think it's as popular as the slapping one. Where it's. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like they have two guys in a car, and they're like supposed to. It's like UFC, but like inside a car.
Oh my
I'm
god.
not kidding. I swear to God. And they have like their seatbelts on, and then go, and then like they have to, and then they have to overpower each other. I think it's like a Russian thing.
Of course, it's a Russian
Yeah,
thing.
but it's so bizarre. Like they have to put the seats down, take off their seatbelts, and then oh my god, I thought it was like a joke, but it's actually a proper sport.
Oh my god, I gotta look
You have
into
to check it out. I don't
that.
put like car jujitsu or something, but I thought it was like a joke, but it's actually real.
Are they throwing punches?
I'm not sure if
If they're
it's
not throwing punches, then it's probably car jiu-jitsu. It's called car jiu. That's such a fun name.
yeah, if it's I'm not sure if there are punches involved, but I just remember seeing two guys like struggle with each other inside a car. Like, are you guys okay? And they have camera, like they have the ceiling open, and they have cameras on like every angle. It's so weird. Like, why would you do this? You know, like, but like it's like they're running out of ideas of how to beat people up, like how to entertain people. But for me, it's like it's fun and all, but there's just one part of my brain that says this is just a huge distraction. You know, like they're keeping us distracted. You know, with everything, even sports. Like, have you seen the fans like on a football stadium of how they like when they score a goal, like they're like ah, and then I wonder why aren't people this enthusiastic about like real, like life issues?
Because they're boring. That's why.
But like they
Messi
affect,
scoring a goal is cool.
but like, but it
My
seems,
taxes are not. My 5% increment at work is not fun. Or like something that I'm gonna be this enthusiastic about.
but
But
like,
like when Ronaldo does that slide,
but you see, like it's almost like we're living in a bubble because you're using this as a form of escape. You know?
yeah, there is of course escapism.
Yeah.
Okay, there is that aspect, but you also have to think of it or look at it rather in a positive way where it's a sense of community. Hey, I love this team
Mm.
and I love these guys. I've watched them for like I don't know 10, 15 years, whatever. And I've seen them when they were in that team and I'm
Mm.
following them, whatever. I love you because you love them. And now when they score a goal, we'll cheer together and we'll become friends just because of
Mm.
this match. So there is that aspect too. It's easy to look at people in a microcosm and assume that that's their whole life, football fans included. If you
Yeah.
see a crazy fan being crazy, very likely the next day they go back to their accounting job. عادي
Yeah.
It's easy to get this idea of another person in an intense moment
Mm.
and assume that that's all they are, reduce them to that moment.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
For better or worse.
Mm.
You know, it might be an amazing moment, and you might think that's an amazing person, and then you realize that they spit all the time.
So
You
specific.
know?
Okay.
I'm thinking of a
Yeah.
person. That's why.
No names, please. Yeah.
I know that person.
If he's watching, he probably loves himself too.
Like, I don't care how accomplished you are. If you spit all the time, it's
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want you around me, bro.
Yeah. But like sometimes when they put the camera on the fans, and I see their passion and enthusiasm, I honestly I'm like I wish we were this passionate about the environment, about education, about human life, about you understand? Like I just it's weird. Like I don't see that anger or passion or excitement or energy when it comes to real world life issues. You know?
Yeah, because again, two reasons. One, it's more fun, obviously,
Yeah.
than cleaning up a river. And, and I'm sorry, I'm
No, no,
just
you're right. You're right. I can't
I'm
disagree.
just being honest. And
Yeah.
secondly, the issues that you're talking about are never ending. And that again, yeah, I guess you're right with the escapism part. Because the match is gonna end in 90
Mm.
minutes and then I go back to my life. So I might
Yeah.
as well be excited for that. Might as well enjoy that.
Yeah.
Right? But if I go and look at a river, I'm gonna be quite literally a river full of garbage, let's say. There's many of those. I'm gonna be excited about removing trash from it maybe for the first two bags. If that. Then what? What about the 70th bag? You know?
Yeah. Remember what you said about how we can collectively make a difference? That's what I was saying. Because if you hear the roar or the chant of the fans in the stadium, it's deafening, man. Wow, like like even like on camera, it sounds loud. Imagine being there, physically present. But imagine if every person does his or her job. So like if we collectively come and support a team that you know nothing about. Like I know people who support Barcelona or like Real Madrid, and they know nothing. They know like they don't know any of the players. They know nothing, but they it's like a hype. It's like
Yeah,
a
because it's fun.
habba. Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, there you go.
That's the point.
Yeah, but then we should maybe make those things fun as well. Maybe we should get society more involved in real world life issues and make it more fun. You know how Mr. Beast made the team C's whatever, like he makes it, he kind of, the whole gamification, like like you try to make a competition, who can clean more garbage from the river, this team or this team, or this school or that school. So we have to find, I think, new ways to get this upcoming generation more excited about the environment. Because honestly, the way we're going right now is it's just insane, man. We have, I mean, if you listen to the news, it's all depressing, man. There's nothing good. Like it's all, and I don't want my kids to kind of to live in like a day and age where everything's just about killing and death and the world is collapsing. And you understand? Like I wanna.
See, on that, um, as easy it is to get, uh, how would you say it? Drowned in this idea and this understanding of the world as that everything's getting darker and darker. It's all gonna get pitch black soon, and nothing's improving. Nothing's getting better. You have to realize that almost all of it is caused because of your, uh, let's say, your phone, or if you're consuming TV, how are you
Mm,
consuming TV? You're looking at, are you watching like traditional news channels? Of course, they're not.
mm,
Barely. Okay. And how is that catered? How is that algorithm catered? It's catered based on how much attention you give it.
mm,
It's based on what sort of things do you give attention to? And humans just intrinsically, that's how we're wired. We're always going to be more mindful of something negative.
mm.
Very basic example. Allah, if my cat makes a normal sound and just comes and like rubs against my leg, I'm not even gonna get interrupted in
Acknowledges, yeah.
this sentence. But if my cat sounds like something fell on her, I'm gone like this. I'm pulling this wire with me. I'll forget to remove it.
Yeah.
Why? Because this is what helped our ancestors survive,
Mm,
focusing on the negatives,
that's true. Yeah.
as paradoxical as it may sound. But if you zoom out and you look at numbers without emotions, so to speak, every single decade that we've been keeping record from, the quality of human life has only gone up.
That's true. Yeah.
There's a smaller percentage starving. It's a
Mm,
smaller percentage of kids dying early.
mm,
It's a smaller percentage of just all sorts of healthcare improvements.
yeah.
Sorry, like healthcare problems, let's say, in general.
Yeah.
Of course, there's some diseases that have skyrocketed because of, I don't know, processed foods and
Yeah.
whatnot, and that's a whole different problem.
Mm,
But in general, everyone's making more money
mm,
with purchase power
yeah.
kept in mind.
People are living
We
longer as well.
People are living
Yeah,
longer.
that's true.
So in the grand scheme of things, people are more educated.
Mm,
People are more creative in their endeavors. I don't know how that would be measured, but that's just anecdotal. But I feel like they are. And that's going the right way,
I
so to
see.
speak, if there is one.
Mm.
But
So
when
like
it
the nets, like you mean like the nets.
net improvement, yeah,
Yeah.
there is a net improvement, and maybe part of that is because we see so much negativity. We're
Mm,
like, oh, we gotta work harder on improving things.
that could be a reason.
So it might be feeding into itself. But in general, this is the best time to be alive
Mm,
than has ever been.
that's true. Yeah. And hopefully it's only gonna get better.
Because if you had to be as objective as possible, And I don't think much objectivity is possible with this thing, in how you measure quality of your life.
Yeah.
Okay, you would try to minimize, in a broad sense of it. You would try to minimize stress. You would try to maximize joy.
True.
That's fair enough, right?
Yeah.
And when we're sitting like this here, and we know that, hey, if I feel like it, I can grab my phone and order a meal better than any king had 100 years ago.
True.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
It'll be hotter and fresher and cleaner and more nutrition filled than any king or queen had.
Yeah.
Okay, 100 years ago. If I get injured when I stand up, I twist my ankle, I'll go and receive the best health care in the world, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So- or even less, I think. So on and so forth. Like the amount of stress that we, objectively at least looking at it, should be feeling is very minimal.
Mm. But you're comparing it to before, right?
But comparing
Yeah.
it to an older
Okay.
timeline, yeah. And
Okay.
then when it comes to joy, we can go and run around in a park with the most luxurious, luxurious. I don't know what's the word. What's not the
Luxurious?
luxurious? Yeah, grass
Yeah.
and plants and whatnot. Can go to the most beautiful gym in the world. You can go swimming in the best pools, cleanest ones.
Mm.
You can go drive to your friends because you own a car. Uh, you can, of course, also just brain rot your cell phone.
If you want to.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, objectively speaking, again, it would give you a dopamine hit. It would increase your
Mm.
joy, so to speak,
Spike, yeah.
no matter how much in the short term. So when you look at it like that, life has improved and has been improving.
Mm. I'm just kind of,
Which is a weird thought to have. I
it
know.
is weird, yeah, like when you
Because
think about
it's,
it that way.
yeah, it's like a mindset shift
Yeah,
that you're having on my sofa right now.
but I was thinking, back to this whole, distraction and joy, because isn't joy, I mean, yeah, joy could be a measure, but isn't joy also a distraction from your greater purpose?
Pursuing your greater purpose should bring you joy, not ought to, should bring you joy.
Mm.
Joy, and the way I use it at least, is not happiness or short-term dopamine hits per se.
Okay.
It's more like feeling purposeful in what you're doing, and
Mm.
feeling like what you're doing is something good.
Some sort of
If
fulfillment or,
if not necessarily for the greater good, it's something good
okay.
what you're doing.
Yeah, because I feel
That's
like,
joy. Because you can get joy while doing something very difficult.
true, true. But I feel like the joy we have today is mainly like mindless joy. It's not joy that's
Fulfilling.
fulfilling, yeah,
Yeah.
or productive or
Yeah, of
for
course.
the greater for mankind. It's more like selfish kind of joy that I'm just gonna spend hours either watching a movie or binge watch like an entire series or just social media because we spend hours without even like realizing, Um, I feel like the genuine joy comes from doing something that kind of gives you purpose in life. It kind of gives you fulfillment, kind of adds something to your circle of friends or your society or mankind in general. Something like it's like kind of giving back in some shape or form.
I think we've reached the point where we've solved so many basic problems as humanity in
Hmm.
general, that we've started making problems,
Really.
intentionally or unintentionally, just to have something to do, just to have something to work toward.
But don't you think that we all need something to work towards? Like, don't you think?
Yeah, but do you think you should be making it if there isn't something
Hmm.
there, if there's no need for it?
I feel like as long as humans exist, there's always going to be something to work towards,
100%. Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
Right. because remember we talked about how you're not perfect. We're perfectly imperfect. So because we're like that, there's
Like that
always
constant adjustment that you were talking about.
yeah, there's always something like I can't imagine like the world like utopia. It doesn't exist. There's always something that needs fixing, always something that needs improving. Or I mean, it's like sometimes as teachers we complain about students. Oh, they know nothing. Like, yeah, that's why they're here. Their English is poor. That's why they're studying English. Like that's our job. It's like you take your car to the mechanic and you guys, oh, your car's broken. That's why I'm here. Like that's the point. So when teachers complain about the level of
I've
students,
had mechanics like that
yeah, you're right.
that are
Yeah,
mad at me for my
yeah,
car not
yeah.
working. I'm like,
Dude,
bro,
I'm making you money. Right?
I'm sorry for keeping you
Yeah,
employed.
exactly. You have a house in Ibiza because of me. So it's like, why are you complaining about their level? I mean, that's why they're here. They're here to learn. So don't complain. Find a way. Find a way to, educate these people, to motivate them. So yeah.
That's amazing. See, I wanted to ask you about this earlier before we got deep into the yap zone, which we are in right now. I tend to like that's where all conversation seems to lead. But I just want to touch on this
Mm.
a bit, like just out of curiosity.
Okay.
What are you doing uh, with your time and like with your life in general outside of teaching, outside of university? Like,
Mm.
are there any things you're working towards? Are there any projects you're involved in?
Yeah.
Like, what are you excited about?
I'm really excited
What
about
do you?
writing, to be honest.
Hmm.
I feel like I cannot be my true self when I speak. I can only be my true self when I write.
Interesting. Why is that?
When you talk to others, sometimes you censor yourself or you don't mention certain things. You might be scared that the other person you're talking to might judge you or might misunderstand you. But when
Okay.
you're when you're putting pen to paper, it's just you and the paper, and there's no one there to judge. There's no one there to get ideas about you. You can be your true self, and that's how I feel when I write. I feel like when I write and I put my feelings down on paper, I am my genuine self.
And you're not writing for these things for anyone to read.
Not necessarily, no. I sometimes just write and just keep it for myself. So
Is it like journaling? Or are you doing it every day or?
sometimes, yeah. Right now,
Hmm.
I'm actually keeping a journal. I also have like a bad memory, so sometimes I like to when I go through like a profound experience or I go through something interesting, I like to kind of write it down because I want to remember it. I want to like relive it in the future. So um, last year when I traveled to Lebanon, we stayed there for like I think 25 days or a month almost. So I started journaling like my daily activities, what we did, where we went. And it's interesting because I don't remember anything, but when I go back and read the journal, I'm like, okay, I remember going here.
Oh wait, that's really interesting. You go back and read it.
Yeah, I do.
I have never done that.
Really?
I thought most people didn't do that.
I do it because I tend to forget a lot. So I don't. If you ask me what I did in Lebanon last year, I can maybe mention two or three things, even though I stayed there for like a month. But when I read the journal, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember where I was. Okay, I remember this. I remember we took the kids there. Where this happened, and so in a way, it's like a time capsule. It's like I'm taking ownership of the time that I once had that I don't recall right now. So I mean, I could maybe publish them later on in the future if I wanted to, but for the time being, it's mainly like a personal account or a personal diary of the things that we did. So I'm doing that now, which is interesting, and yeah, I mean it's fun because you, as I said, like you get to like relive the moments that you had. And in a way, like if I don't write it down, I know that in a couple of months or years, I'm going to forget everything.
Hmm.
So in a way, I mean, photographs can only take in so much. Like when you take a photograph, right? But then when you write things down, what you did, where you went, what you smelled, what you heard, whatever, it's like it's almost like a movie. It's almost like a
You're saving it.
yeah, like you're saving it, and then you can savor the beautiful flavors later on in the future. Like even my kids, when they say something funny or cute, I write it down because I can't memorize everything, every cute thing they ever said. So when they say something adorable or cute or something which I think is funny, I just write it down, and I know that in the future when they get older, if I show them what they said, I mean it's going to be a beautiful bonding moment between us.
It's beautiful.
You know, think of
Yeah.
all think of all the times you've had, like these special moments you've had with friends, that no longer exist,
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
right? Not because you don't want to remember, like you don't want to remember them, but simply because they faded out of memory or new memories replaced them.
I never looked at writing like that.
Really?
Yeah, that is so interesting. I'll sometimes I'll sometimes do morning papers
That's good.
just to start my day fresh, and I'll sometimes write at the end of the day,
That's nice as well. Yeah.
but very rarely. Most of the times when I'm writing, what it is just ideas that come to me,
Okay.
ideas that I don't want to forget.
Hmm.
I never really wrote down experiences
Really? Have you
for
tried?
the sake of that.
Try it.
I should, yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll like it.
Sounds really interesting. Nice. What else are you doing?
Gym, mainly working on my physical health. Because when we start work, I feel like there's almost no time to balance everything. So mainly physical activity, mainly journaling, writing things down, and catching up my reading. And basically spending more time with family. That's about it. Those are like the four things I'm doing this summer.
Nice.
Yeah, because my parents are supposed to leave the country next year for good.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm trying my best to.
where are they headed, if you don't mind telling me?
They were supposed to go to Lebanon, but the situation unfortunately is not that good. So they're probably gonna go and live with my brother who's living in Spain.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice there, but at the end of the day, it's not your country. Like it's not like we're still foreigners. I mean, we've been living as foreigners.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So and then yeah, so my dad he was supposed to like retire in Lebanon, but I don't think it's gonna happen because the situation is not that good.
Yeah. Inshallah gets better.
Inshallah, yeah. So I'm spending as much time because I know that when they leave, it's gonna be hard for me because I've been living like I mean we've been like in the same country all our lives.
Hmm. And do they live close by to you?
Oh, they live yeah, it's like 10 minutes away.
Oh,
So
okay.
you know.
That's always good. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you, Asad.
this.
This
I
was
really,
really.
really appreciate it. And I think this is the longest one I've had by far.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank you,
much.
Asad. It was a pleasure, man. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.
I'll stop. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asad. I mean, this was beautiful. I thank you for coming up with the idea, honestly. I've always wanted to have like a podcast as well, but I just never got around to doing anything
Well,
about
you
it.
can now.